Okay. Thank you.
These new chairs?
Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
We didn't know about the size.
What? No,
Yeah, we're good with that. We can get a stage.
I don't see a problem as long as we can, if we have one available.
We want a stage, we want a concrete stage that we agree on.
Well, no, we're talking about putting a portable stage
No,
in,
we're
right?
not gonna put up a stage. We put a portable stage at your house, not at ours.
Okay,
We want a permanent structure.
well, I'm gonna bring it up tonight I'm gonna bring up the CRA meeting is going to be the next,
On the 16th.
yeah, 16th at 5:30. And that's the time that I can bring all this stuff up to them and they're gonna be able to approve it. We'll bring up that you want it. We'll bring up that you want it. See, I thought it was affordable.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I will bring it up. We'll bring it up.
Move this closer. I did
Yeah.
a sound check with it much closer, so
Okay,
it was right here. Fine.
Okay,
Not where it was when
sure.
I did the sound check.
okay.
Everybody ready? All right. I'd like to call the February 1st, 2021 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City to order. If everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you for the many blessings you bestow upon our community. We ask for you to continue to look after our community, to keep us safe from the pandemic, to look after the families that have lost loved ones during this time, and to continue to help us get through this. Ask us to look after our community, our troops, our law enforcement, our first responders. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. Ox, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson,
Here.
Mr. Green,
Here.
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson,
Here.
Mayor Witt,
Here.
Mr. Coberline,
Here.
Mr. Helfenberger,
Here.
Chief Gilmore.
Okay, at this time, Chief Gilmore wanted to say a couple of words.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, to the City Council. This will be very brief. At our last City Council meeting, I was on Zoom And I invited each of you to do a ride-along before our workshop. And what I have to present to you tonight, each one of you a packet that needs to be completed to get this started. Hopefully you'll be able to get this done and start turn around. And thank you. And hopefully be an opportunity for us to get this turned around in a quick manner for the ride along to happen. I do suggest if you can do weekends, that would be great, but it is your choice. So I want to just pass these out tonight for you to get these filled out. The instructions are in there. Thank you. Can you give this to everybody? Hold on. Thank you very much. That's all I needed.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, do we?
I didn't either.
We'll work it out afterwards.
Okay, before our proclamation, I've been asked that some of them want to speak. And the first one's Michael Coker. If y'all all want to go up there and then take your turns, thank Talia Jernigan, then Victoria Coker, and then Be Faithful.
I was born on August 29, 1958. I was an American singer, songwriter, and dancer. Many people call me the king of pop, and some say I was the most significant cultural figure of 20th century. I am known for the moonwalk and the robot, and many people who sing from country to opera use my music as inspiration. I started singing as a child. Many heard me singing with my brothers. I won many awards and made billions of dollars during my life, but the greatest accomplishment I had is being known for breaking racial barriers, for bringing people together. I am depicting Michael Jackson, one of the greatest musicians the world has ever seen. He was a son, a brother, a father, and an American. I am an American. My name is Michael Coker, and I am your future.
Thank you.
I was born on October 20, 1964. My mom was a scientist and my dad a teacher at a college. I rode the bus a long way from home in kindergarten because my mom said it was important for all kids to learn together. My mom taught my sister and me about different church, art, and schools. I have a degree in politics, and I am a lawyer. I was a senator. Camilla Paris. My name is Talea, and I am your future.
May I say a few words about the matter? I want to say a few words about the matter. I am a woman's rights. I have as much muscle as any man, and I can do as much work as any man can. I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed. And can any man do more than that? I have heard about the sexes being equal. I can carry as much as any man, and I can eat as much too, if I can get it. I am as strong as any man that is now. As for intellect, all I can say is if a man have a pint if a woman have a pint and a man a quart, why can't she have a little pint full? You need not be afraid to give us our rights and fear that we will take too much, for we can only take our little pint full. The poor men seem to be all in confusion and don't know what to do. Why, children, if you have women's rights, give it to her, and you will feel better. You will have your own rights, and they won't be so much trouble. I can't read, but I can hear. I have heard the Bible, and I have learned that Eve caused man to sin. Well, if woman upset the world, do give her a chance to set it right side up again. The lady has spoken about Jesus, how he never spurned woman from him, and she was right. When Lazarus died, Mary and Martha came to him with faith and love and besought him to raise their brother. And Jesus wept, and Lazarus came forth. And how came Jesus into the world? Through God, and who created him, and a woman who bore him. Man, where is your part? But the women are coming up, blessed be God, and a few of the men are coming up with them. But man is in a tight place. The poor slave is on him. Women is coming on him, and he is surely between a hawk and a buzzard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing the children to share some Black history with you this evening. Before the proclamation, I share with you our greatest fear from Miriam Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? But actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others feel comfortable around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And when we allow our own light to shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you again this evening for allowing the children to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this time I'd like to do our proclamation. It's Black History Month, February 2021. This month we celebrate our American history and the contribution of African heritage. We recognize the heritage and achievements of African culture. The contributions of African culture has made and continues to make is an integral part of our society and the history of Americans of African descent. Exemplifies the resilience and innovative spirit that continues to make our nation great. For generations, Americans of African heritage and African culture has embodied the shared progress of our nation. Through toil and struggle and with courageous actions that have been broken barriers, they have made America a better place to live and work for everybody. from native African kings and queens to Americans of African descent such as Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., and Barack Obama. Whereas we share a rich cultural history which embodies valuable cultural contributions from Africa through its cultural norms and Americans of African descent. The strength and determination of men and women like these remind us that our nation brims with people whose contributions continue to make it stronger and better. Whereas our success historically presently, and as we embark on our future, requires the continued commitment and contributions of our citizens and fellow Americans of African descent, we continue this journey toward a stronger, more united nation. Let's use this communication of American history to celebrate the contributions made from African heritage and culture. Whereas let us use this month to serve as a reminder of the need for continued meaningful dialogue, shared commitment to collective action that uplifts and empowers as well as of the strength and ingenuity and perseverance required of us in the years to come, because we have learned from the opportunities of our past and know that we are stronger together. Now, therefore, Mayor Stephen M. Witt of the City of Lake City do hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as the month to celebrate American history and the era of African heritage in the City of Lake City. And in doing so, urge all citizens to join me in observing this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. If Ms. Coker and the kids would come up, well. Next is approval of the agenda.
We approve the agenda is published, Mayor.
Motion second to approve the agenda is published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, persons wishing to address council, I have several signed up. First one I have is if everybody come to the podium, give their address, and we have a limit of 3 minutes. First one would be Mr. Lenore Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and fellow councilmen. I'd like to address the council in an issue that is, I think, is of extreme importance in the environment that we now live in American society. But as American society goes, so does our state and our town, Lake City. And there are issues that I'm concerned about as a citizen of this county, that we need a citizens review board for our law enforcement in this town. And the purpose of a citizens review board falls along the lines of accountability. As the citizenry of a city supports their law enforcement, there has to be buy-in. There has to be this sense that the departments, both sheriff and police departments, are concerned about their citizens and is committed to treating all people the same, regardless of their race, their gender, religion. It doesn't matter. But in the environment that we live today, it seems to be a problem in American society that is seemingly we're taking steps back to a time where our country was extremely divided. And in that division, people were treated differently and they were treated unfairly. And in the light of things that has even happened in our city of late, it seems like it's a throwback to a time that we all wish that were a past time, a time where animals were put on people to attack them, a time where people were denied civil rights, that even law enforcement treated people differently along the lines of race and social class. We don't want to live in a society like that. We want to make certain that each person is given an opportunity to participate in law enforcement, that they feel protected and safe by their law enforcement officers. And I want to say there are many good, fine officers and chiefs of police and sheriffs, but it's not always the case. There's sometimes we run into chiefs and the police officers and officers that do not uphold their sworn duty to treat everybody equally and fairly and with justice. And we're not having that now in our society. And so I think a review board would allow for greater participation in that ideal so that everybody can feel like law enforcement is for them, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Sylvester Warren.
Sylvester Warren, 832 Northeast Richardson Terrace. I was just before the council 2 weeks ago. And I begged this council to get me some help with Sergeant Johns and Officer Costco. I sent each one of y'all have a copy. I outlined the history of these officers with me, my fear of them. I told you about the issues that we're facing. Back in June, I begged the chief. She refused to meet with JEC. I'm the president of Justice and Equality Coalition. She refused to meet with us. Mr. Heffenberg refused to meet with us. We've been asking for a citizen review board for the simple reason that we did not want to get to this. This was swept under the rug by the sheriff. This happened back in October. And the question the thing that I said to you all 2 weeks ago, I don't want to be a part of this. And now it raises the question, am I next for something like this or something worse? It's an administrative decision that you all can get the chief to make today to make sure that certain officers cannot bring people home. It is an unfortunate thing in this country. Everybody sitting here, I would believe, to be able to say that they know the history between the Black community and law enforcement and how negative that's been throughout history and to this day. It is too many unarmed Black men that fear for their life and have been murdered by cops who almost every time are never convicted for that crime. And in Lake City and Columbia County, we have a bad cop culture. I told y'all we had a sergeant on record saying that he treats the Black community, apply the laws differently in the Black community than the white community. Myself and Nathan Gemmels, who's present, we've did the report on that. We've released the video to the, nothing. These officers are still on the shift. And how would you feel if this was your son? How would you feel if this was happening to you? And I continue to press this council because it's the 5 of you folks who can override the chief. You can override the city manager. We voted for you. We went out and held signs. We campaigned for you. If we did not live in your district, we thought you were the best man for the job, and we asked people that were related to us and friends of ours to vote for you so that you can do the right thing by us when employees of the city does not. And I'm telling you, it is a difference in this nation, in this city, being Black versus being white. This demonstrates it. What I'm going through demonstrates it. There's a double standard. There's two Americas. You can see it on January the 6th when white folks stormed the Capitol behind a freaking lie about an election. They're out on bond, on their own recognizance. There's a Black kid named Jesse Gibson. He's in jail with no bond for driving while license suspended. We're asking, we're demanding that we do something about this, and we can do something about this today. We want justice now. We can't afford to wait. We're one traffic stop away from being murdered. We're one traffic stop away from being murdered. Mr. Jefferson, you live and you're the city councilman in District 10. You can make the motion right now, and I believe there's enough support right now among this council and among these people. These people did not come. You see faces in here you've never seen before, and they are demanding justice for the Black community. We've suffered up under the hands of crooked cops, bad cops, and unfair laws, unfair policies, and unfair practices for way too long. It must end. Enough is enough, and that's why they're present. Mr. Jefferson, we're asking you, you represent the biggest part of the Black community. In 20 years, in all fairness, you have not delivered us much, but we're asking you tonight that you make a motion right now to give us a citizen review board. The people that are suffering the most up under law enforcement wrongly is primarily in your district, sir. I live in your district. Vanessa lives in your district. Most everybody sitting here lives in your district. And we're asking you, you haven't given us much in 20 years, but you can give us a citizen review board. You can make a motion right now to make a change. You can be the historical moment in this town. We need you right now. We voted, many people voted for you, and you got reelected. Whether some of us like it or not, you're the man for this job. And it's your responsibility to give this community who you represent, whether you agree or disagree, we're here telling you what we want. We elected you and you serve us. Mr. Jefferson, are you willing to give us a citizen review board? Are you willing to make a motion? Are you willing to tell each and every person who we know you personally that what happens to us and what we need to feel safe and protected, you're unwilling to give us? Are you unwilling to give us what we need? Not what we want, but what we need because we fear for our lives when we're supposed to be protected and serving. Give us what our citizen review board. Make the motion, sir. Show us that you stand with us. Show us that you're more than just the same skin color of us, that you are for right versus wrong. Show us that you love us. Show us that you care about us. Show us that you can be different. Show us that you can be a leader. Show us that the people that live in your community matter to you, other than just to vote you in for office. Show us that our concerns that we have, that it's not just me and Glendale Bowden and Vanessa up here tonight speaking. You got an audience in here that want to hear from you, that you're the leader, that you're the one that serves us. We want to know what you're willing to do for us. We've done a lot for this community. We've done a lot for you. What are you willing to do for us? We're asking you just to open your mouth and make a motion. Can you open your mouth? We're asking you just to open your mouth and make a motion to show us that you stand in solidarity with us. We need you today.
Okay.
I'm not done. Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Jefferson want to address you with a motion.
Now, I want to pose a question to you, Mayor, if I may. Will you explain to me the difference between a review board and an advisory board?
Language is interchangeable. It's just the verbiage. Some people more educated with post high school education call it a citizen, call it advisory board, and we call it citizen review board. Same animal.
I think it depends on how it's structured. I mean, I think there's a lot of variations of all of it. So.
The language, the two languages are the same. It's three styles of citizen review board. Can we get a motion from you?
I can support an advisory board.
Can you make a motion for an advisory board for us tonight?
I can support an advisory board.
And make the
Yes.
motion. Make the motion.
I place that as a motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion, though. It's not a topic that's on the agenda, but I'll ask you for the second for it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We have discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, may I have a moment? I didn't know this was gonna come up, but I was prepared. As a country, democracy plays an important part in our society, and citizens have a fundamental right to participate in government and in the governance of their communities. In my view, it's imperative we encourage citizen participation in policymaking. An honest discussion about citizen involvement is particularly relevant with the events across our nation the last couple of years. We've been fortunate to avoid those issues here that they have in larger cities. However, there's room for improvement within the city. That's why I believe it's a good idea to implement a citizen police advisory committee. Now's the time. There's some benefits to the city as well as to the citizens. It can mediate conflict and serve as an advocate for programs, ideas, and methods to improve the relationship. It promotes trust in police and the community they serve to build a closer relationship. It promotes trust in police operations within the community. It champions transparency and accountability, which is the first order of good government. And it provides safer communities where citizens become the eyes and ears and help improve situations that right now fall through the crack, and they're having to settle with crime on the streets because the police don't know about it because of the fear of bringing it to their attention. So it can also help with allocation and reallocation of resources as the community and the police work together. And that's why I would second that motion.
Well, I pretty much piggyback off what Mr. Sampson said. I think that our police department, which the chief stresses transparent. And this is a way, in my opinion, that shows the transparency of our police department. So again, I support the advisory board, or however you want to call it. I support it 100%.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
In all fairness, I would like to hear from the chief on the matter of an advisory board by the community and her thoughts. I think she is definitely a stakeholder in the discussions tonight, and I would like to hear from her.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Green. First of all, I was a little disappointed. I'm just going to share that with the council, that a motion was made in second without giving me an opportunity to speak. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to speak and give my thoughts on this. I have shared very much the transparency that we have in the police department. As a matter of fact, what you have in your hand for the ride along, this council said the January 19th meeting that you would participate in a citizen ride along and that you would afford me an opportunity to bring a workshop for you to talk about our operations, to talk about our transparency, to talk about our accountability. And that ride along has not happened. Also, I shared with some of you and the city manager, I've had 3 community relations coordinators. And when I gave them their duties and responsibility, bulleted in that is the coordination of a police advisory council. And so there's a difference between a citizen review board and a police advisory council. Now, the question is this, that I have not heard not one city council member ask. When you mention citizen review board and when you mention transparency, my question is, have you asked for definition? Have you asked for what is that is asked of a citizen review board? I have not heard that discussed in this meeting.
Okay, everybody now, she's.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
not kicking. No one said anything when you were talking, so give me that respect.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm up
Okay.
talking, and as a sergeant of arms of this meeting, I am asking to have complete silence while I'm speaking. Thank you. And so when I ask that, and so the question is this, City Council, is to afford the opportunity of the workshop that we talked about. Because this is it. If you want to have a review of investigations, our policies and our procedures, you can have that. If there's an internal affairs investigation that is handled and that you want to know about, you can look into that. We're also governed by Florida statutes that when we have investigation, statutes tells you you can't. You cannot have it and review it until it is over. We do have a city attorney there, and you can ask him, what are the rules of an investigation? And so when you ask for transparency and accountability, I heard someone mention that my breakfast with the chief is a pony and dog show. But there I stand in front of a citizens, sometimes from 60 to 140 people, and I always say this, ask me the hard questions. You don't have the city assistant standing in front of you. You don't have the sergeant standing in front of you. You have the police standing in front of you, asking you the question, what is your concern? And what is your issue? And then I give you my report card of every 3 months that we are doing the work in this community. And so this is what I'm asking this council. It sounds to me being pushed into a citizen review board when you have not had the question answered, what are the expectations? And so also you have not asked me, right? You have not asked me as your police chief. I'm here today and thank you again for this opportunity. That is something that has always been my desire, is to have a police advisory council, which does not have to be prodded by the city council. It is simply the fact is, what is it that you're asking of the citizen review board? When you ask for accountability, what are you asking for the accountability? What is the question that you have for accountability? What is the question that you have for transparency? I have not heard that defined in this meeting. As far as telling us when the data is there in terms of what we do. Is there any city department in this city government that publish an annual report every year of what we do? Not one, not even the city council. But that is accountability and that is transparency that gives you an idea of our operation, that gives you an idea of our arrest and everything that we do. Not only do I give it to the city council, I also put a copy in the chamber and other places of prominence in this community. That's accountability, city council. I'm not afraid of a citizen review board, but the question begs me tonight is, what is it that you're asking of a citizen review board when we have accreditation? When we have an outside panel that looks at our operation and looks at what we do to ensure that we're following policy and procedure. We do go out into the community, and there I stand in front of everybody, that you have an opportunity to come and ask a question of what we do. But I stand here tonight, and these officers are here tonight, is looking for the support of you to say, ask the questions. We're not afraid. I'm not afraid as a leader. I'm not afraid to give accountability to what we do and how we do it, because I think we stand tall and shoulder about what we do, because I will not have anyone on my staff who violates law and violates policy and not bring them into accountability. This is such a concern for me. And that is, City Council has always been on my priority list. And that is to have a police advisory council, not that is mandated by you as a council, but as a police chief who looks out to ensure that we do have citizens coming in and talking to us about the concerns that they have for our community.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Please. Sorry.
You mentioned that you're in favor of Police Advisory Council. That's exactly what I'm recommending, just as, is recommended by the Police Chiefs Association. I think it's an excellent idea. So we're just gonna help with the implementation of that, hopefully. Another item, you talked about the budget and the reporting. I agree with that completely, but the police are the largest liability the city has as well. So your reporting structure is a lot different than, say, building department. It's important as well, but the police department to me is the face of the city. It's the interaction with the citizens. And living in the community and having a lot of interactions with the police, there's a lot of fine officers on this force. I think the relationship's what's in question, and we need to strengthen it. I'm not saying we don't have a good relationship, but it's just like marriage counseling. The better you get together, the better the relationship is. I think Breakfast with the Chief's an excellent item, but I just think an advisory council will take us to that next level.
So let me ask you this question. So this is what I asked of the council. As I mentioned to you, I think I do have it, I didn't bring it with me. That is something, was one of my initiatives. So I'm asking this council to allow me to follow through with my initiative as a police advisory council. The initiative that I have and that I want to implement. Not that it is mandated by this council. It is one of my initiatives that has been there ever since that I've been here. But the Breakfast with the Chief was one of the things that helped me, right? To help me to get into the face of the community. And so when I asked you, if I don't mind asking you, Councilman Sampson, when you say Citizen Review Board, or Police
I didn't, I
Advisory-
said Citizen Advisory Council.
Okay, Police Advisory Council. Can you please define me, what is it that you see as a Police Advisory Council or for the council?
Sure, it's a coming together to share ideas and build relationships between the police and the people. And one of the things it does is help to implement change within departments, because we have to have input from those governed by the people they're governed by.
Can you think of one change at this point that you see that needs to happen within the police department?
I'm not going to answer that completely because I have several, and I don't think we
Just
we
give
want
me
to talk
one.
about quite a
Just
few
give
of
me
them.
one. No, just give me one.
I would just start with, maybe if we could arrest some people sometimes that commit crimes that leave 50 items of evidence, that would be helpful. But that's a minor thing.
I'm sorry, I'm
But-
sorry, I
But
didn't get it.
you're asking me a question, so I'm going to give you a personal answer because I have had several interactions with police, and some of them are positive, lots of them are positive. But on the other hand, there's things we could do if we meet together as an advisory, that we could come together, maybe we could have more eyes and ears to help us solve and bring to a close more cases.
Sure. So I'm asking this.
And,
That-
and back to your question about the ride-along, I did one in 2005, as I believe the mayor did as well,
Yeah.
when we were in Leadership Lake City, and that's how I met a
Sure.
very good lifelong friend of mine, who's now deceased, Mr. Rodriguez. And it was a good and valid experience, and even then, I thought that an advisory council would be helpful, because seeing the interaction on the street and living it, it's different. When you face it every day, there's a danger involved, and we got to make sure mitigate that by community relationships and just coming together.
Okay, so the question is that I'm asking this council, as I mentioned to you when I first got here, from the 3 community relations coordinators that I have, every duty and responsibility that I've given to them is to coordinate a police advisory council. Are you going to allow me to initiate that initiative that I had in place as a police advisory council? That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm asking the council if you allow me to follow through with my initiative of a police advisory council. That's what I'm asking. I am
Mr. Mayor?
talking and you're out of order.
One of the things, I think we have the police chief in front of us tonight. We have our many citizens here tonight. It sounds to me like we want to improve relations between the police department and the community. As Mr. Sampson said, the people that they're policing. And I think it's important. I think that the police chief has asked for and has scheduled a workshop where she can discuss her proposal as to the Police Advisory Council. And so I think that she should be afforded that opportunity to do that. I think we shouldn't move hastily. I think we should move correctly. And I think allowing for the workshop would allow us to do that.
No, sir. I want to speak. We ain't with that. Mr. Jackson had a motion on the floor there, and we were in discussion.
Okay, we don't even have a,
Mr. Mayor,
okay, wait. Okay, no, it's getting out of hand.
You're out of order.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, I do.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor,
talking in order,
we
but you
can't
are out
have
of
this.
order.
Yeah, hey, we're stopping. I'm not listening to anybody that's speaking from the audience. Everybody's let everybody that come to the podium speak. We're gonna do it orderly. All right, go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, and that was what I was gonna close with, because that's what I came up here to say. You said in our last meeting that you would afford me an opportunity of a workshop.
I agree.
And that you were going to do a ride-along.
All right, I'm gonna do it
And
right
that's what
along.
I'm
and then-
asking for, because this, to me, is not what you said you were gonna do. That it sounds like you're pushed into a motion of something that you already said that you would allow us to do. And that's what I'm asking you to do, Mayor.
And I agree with you. There's nothing on the table. I mean, if we vote tonight to do anything other than have a workshop, what are we voting on?
We voting on, we got, Mr. Neal, you got a motion on?
Now, I'm gonna let you speak when she gets through
Okay.
for 3 minutes.
Okay.
I agree with the workshop. We don't have anything black and white to read and decide what we're voting on. Are we voting on a 10-person committee, a 3-person committee? What are they gonna do? I mean, what are we voting on? So we don't have anything we can vote on having a workshop and taking this up, but right now, we don't have anything that we can substantially say we voted to do. I agree with Mr. Green that we need to, and we need to move along. The chief gave us this to do. We all need to do it, but we need to have our workshop soon.
Again, Chief, on this ride along, like I said, I've been on a couple of them. But I still think that on a ride along, the officer is gonna be on his best behavior. So I don't think a ride along is gonna solve anything.
Well, may I address that, please, sir?
Hmm?
Okay. The ride-along is just not for you to observe an officer. It is also to observe the officer, but also to look at our operations, what they do, how they handle things. And then that is your opportunity to ask them questions about the operations and about what they do and about the calls, the different parts of the city, whatever you want to ask. So it's not just to sit and observe an officer. It is about what they do as an officer. It is about the type of calls that we go to. It is about what they do during the 12-hour shift. Councilman Hill and to the rest of the council, quite frankly, I think it is due those officers that you come and find out what they're doing. There's a different kind of kinds of things that we're dealing with even now, and you feel it, you sense it now. And you can't give them a few hours to ride with them and to ask them questions. They have families, they're human too, just like everyone in here.
Chief,
But yet they do put on this uniform every day.
Chief, I hear what you're saying.
Sir.
That guy with that dog attack, he has a family.
Very good. That's a very good point, Councilman Hill. And that's why there are procedures in place to find out what happened. And there are investigations in place to find out what happened, right? And so, and I cannot speak for the sheriff's office.
I understand.
Okay, and so you're asking me about something I don't know about,
I
and
don't-
that would not be right for me. That would not be right for me at all to talk about a dog bite.
But Chief,
I don't know.
I'll just use that as
I
an example,
understand.
but
I understand.
we all have families. We all have families.
Yes,
Like you
sir.
say, officers have a family also.
Yes, sir.
But speaking from a black man,
Mhm.
it's different when Mr. Green gets stopped and when I get stopped.
And so, Councilman Hill, what I would encourage you and everyone to do, if you feel that difference, you see that difference, and you're part of that difference, then there is a process in place. There is a complaint process in place for you to bring that. Okay? And so you can. And here again, any investigation that is completed, you have an opportunity to review that investigation when it is done. You can read it from cover to cover. And if you see where there are irregularities or anything that was not done correctly, here's an opportunity for us to go back and look at it. That's when you hold us accountable as well. Look at what we do, because let me tell you something. There are always another side to an incident. And just because what you hear here, allow the process to take place. Allow the process to take place when we have a complaint about anything that an officer would do or that you feel like is wrong. Allow the process. There's a complaint process. And then there's the courts. If you see that the officer lied or whatever, there are courts. If we didn't handle the investigation right, give somebody else an opportunity to look at it. You have an attorney. That's what attorneys are for. But to sit here and to judge and to sentence an officer just because you're hearing one side of an incident, and thank God for videos. Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank God for videos.
we've got to quit talking from the audience.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I think, I know that the audience tonight wants us to approve this Police Advisory Council. We need to know what that is, what form that takes.
Exactly.
So although to approve that tonight will make everyone feel good, the reality is it doesn't do anything because we don't know what that means.
We don't have anything to vote on.
And so we need the information to know what it is that we're voting on and what it means. And that way there's a meaningful dialogue, a meaningful change, and it's not a feel-good event.
Exactly.
Well, we hadn't had anything in forever. So to feel good about some change that's about to happen, we'll be extremely happy with that. Mr. Green, with all due respect, you're white and you have white kids. And so all this time and playing around, you don't have the same fears that we have. That as you play around and try to get some strong language together for that, we're already dead, right? And then all you can do is pray for us and come by the funeral and view our body. That's not enough for us. That's not enough for us. We asked Mr. Jefferson, who understands, who his wife has sued this police department because of how they've treated his son. So he knows what we're talking about. His wife knows what we're talking about. His wife has sued this police department because of how they've treated his son. So Black children, men and women get treated a whole lot different. And we need a citizen review board. And the chief talking about her initiative, she's been here a very long time. She was serious about it, she'd have been done it. And as far as talking about waiting, we see what waiting on a complaint done. I was standing before you 2 weeks ago about some officers, and I have not heard back from the chief yet on that issue. We filed a complaint, both Nathan Gambles and I, and we still have not heard nothing back yet. The process is too long and too dragged out when there's no other people with accountability and transparency that's governing and making recommendations about what's going on with this department. What you heard from the chief is a person that want to preach a good sermon on a day that's not Sunday, and a person that wants to control the narrative and the outcome of her department. Any true person that really cared about transparency would not get in the way of a citizen review board. There's nothing negative about it. There's nothing sinful about it. There's nothing wrong with it. Anybody that has nothing to hide would welcome an extra level of transparency and accountability. I'm telling you, you may not understand it, but it's a difference walking in this black skin. And I'm telling you, I feel officers that I spend a lot of taxes in this town. And my tax that pay $1 should not go toward any officer that's supposed to protect and serve me that I feel. That's wrong. And if you don't want to understand, that's fine. You just want 5 votes. And if you don't want to vote for it, that's fine. But I think we got the votes in here to get it done. If you want to be on the opposite side of it, then that's fine with us. But we got a motion, we got a second, and we wanted to have a vote call because we believe that there's enough players on this council to give us a citizen review board. And Mayor, we will ask for you to go ahead and honor what we've already started. And you all can work out the details later. But we need our review board, sir. It's imperative to us. It's imperative to the Black community. You see these Black faces out here, these are mothers. You see Mr. Bowman over there, that's a mother. These are mothers, and a lot of them are single mothers of Black kids who feel every day about getting pulled over, screaming and hollering, please don't shoot me, please don't kill me. That's real for us in the Black community. May not be real in your community, may not be real for your skin color, but it's real for our skin color. And Mr. Jefferson, you know it's real. It's a shame. EJ is my cousin, and you know they've done him dirty many times. You may not speak on it, but Bed Ann speaks on it. The city has done him dirty many times, police officers. And this got to stop. And a citizen review board can help us get there. There's a motion and there's a second.
All right, we gave you 3 more minutes.
It's a motion and a second. I want to stay here.
No, I want to let everybody, I got other people on speak.
What about the motion in a second? You gonna ignore the motion in a second?
I've been listening to y'all. I'm gonna let everybody speak.
Okay, on this issue?
Well, I don't know.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I do know that, well, I know Vanessa's here. Vanessa?
Vanessa George, 930 Northeast Jocona. This is nasty, disrespectful. Slave catchers use dogs. On a traffic violation, a traffic stop. This is why we want a citizen review. The city can't afford a lawsuit. The county really can't afford one, but we know the city definitely can't afford a lawsuit. And this is what you're looking at without that citizen review board. And if it's so if the chief want to be so transparent, what's the problem with the citizen review board? What's the problem with citizens looking at what your officers are doing? Okay, you got your policies, you have this, but we know that officers do stuff every day with written policy and procedures. Do they follow them all the time? No. Did you do anything about Officer Johns on film that says, yes, I police the Black community different than I do the white community? Have anything been done with that? No. So we can't just go off your word. You're a very eloquent speaker, you, Dr. Chief. We know you speak a good sermon. You sound real good, real convincing, but we know differently because we live in this community. We have the fear. I should never have to see stuff like this. This is nasty. And thank God it wasn't the police department this time because we know the city can't afford this. But do we want to wait until we have this situation? Look at this. This could be any of y'all child. I'm sorry, it could be 2 of y'all on here, definitely. This is nasty. This is awful. Now, can you imagine hearing your child screaming, how now you gotta take them to the hospital, and then you got officers taunting them. No, it wasn't the police department, but you got police saying that they treat us differently, but you don't want a citizen review board. And it sounds to me like you want a board that you can control. That's why you want one that you can implement and you can pick who's on there. Let me tell you, if you were so transparent, I wouldn't care who on there because I'm not hiding anything. To have other people eyes on there and say, okay, this is right, oh, that was justifiable, oh, that's wrong. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter who, it shouldn't matter if all these people in here was looking at that. If y'all on the up and up, it should not matter who was looking at the video. It shouldn't matter who was on the citizen review board. It shouldn't matter. And as they were saying, a lot of y'all won't understand, but I don't even want you to understand. I don't, Chris. I don't want you to understand. I don't want your child to ever understand. I don't want none of y'all children to understand. Unfortunately, 2 people on here children do. But I won't wish being Black on anybody. That's how bad it is sometimes. I won't wish it on anybody.
Let me address this. First of all, I keep hearing about Sergeant Johns and I have not done anything. Sylvester Warren is not being forthright. The next day, I called Mr. Warren and I said, I heard your complaint. I said, I'm sending someone there to get the complaint for you. His tone was very different than we hear tonight. Chief, I understand. No rush, Chief. do go ahead and follow your policies and your procedures. I am not lying. Okay. hold on
Okay,
a second. Yes,
there
you-
again,
Hold on a second.
you,
And then I said,
We don't have-
I'm sending someone over to you. I'm sending on, okay. And so we did, as a matter of fact, internal affairs investigator did contact Sylvester Warren, right? And they're setting up a time to conduct investigation into what the alleged comment from Sergeant John was made. That is accountability, Mayor. That is accountability council. When I personally called Sylvester Warren and said that I'm sending someone over, I want the complaint written out. Completely. I am not lying. And then there is what happened. The sergeant went over, they gave him a time. He said, you come to my office, right? Because I'm not feeling comfortable coming to the police department. That's the conversation they had. I even asked for an update today. He said, Chief, we're getting together. I believe they're getting together tomorrow for him to review the video. We have the complete video of that incident, complete. We're going to look into this allegation, just like any other allegation that comes before you. Complete. Internal Affairs investigation is looking into the allegation of the statement that they said Sergeant Johns made. And so this thing about not looking into it, turning our heads, not following policy and procedure, that is not true. If there is if there's a complaint that comes before me and that comes into the police department, we're gonna look into it. I want to make sure that that is addressed in this council, because this rhetoric that we're not looking into it, what about this? Yes, we are. And again, an open investigation is not one that we're talking about, we're supposed to be talking about. Let's get to truth.
Mr. Mayor.
very briefly, then we're gonna have to move along.
First of
We've got
all,
business to do.
first of all, I hope that no other black pastor lie her back in their church with these lies. Period. I don't lie. She didn't call me, and I did not tell her to take her time. I spoke to Lieutenant Miles, not her, and told Miles to have people to meet me at my office. What she did do is leave me a voicemail.
Hi, Sylvester. This is Chief Gilmore. Hope all is well. I just called my office to tell them to reach out to you in reference to the complaint process about the incident on Saturday, but they told me you'd already called.
I already called.
Text or call, something I don't remember about that you had already completed the complaint process. You wanted somebody to pick it up, so that's great. I have not been into the office yet. I had another appointment today, and I'm just getting actually back to my house, and I thought about that. So anyway, this is what we'll do. I'm going to talk with my staff when I get there, get somebody to come pick it up if they haven't already. We're going to go ahead and cancel the meeting for the 2:30 today, since we're now getting ready to initiate the looking into the process. And we'll get back with you.
You didn't talk to me, Chief. This is you. You're gonna lie against your own
Look
voice.
into it and then let you know what we find out.
Chief, we did not, Chief, this is you
Mr.
saying.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
It's not productive for the interaction. I think we have the gist.
No, Chris Green, what Councilman Green, say what you want to say. If a person come up here and call me a liar, and I have the right to defend myself, she did not talk to me. You heard her in her own voice say that I have already heard that you've already spoken with people. So she stood up here and said that she spoke to me, and I told her that it was okay. She sat here and lied. Her own voice contradicted everything she stood up here and said on a recording. She left me a voicemail. I had already handled my business with the lieutenant. So the chief lies, not Sylvester.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Are you gonna,
Okay, hold on.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
When we got the motion about the police advisory review, or the police advisory council that Mr. Jefferson made, one thing we could do is we could modify it so we could get that approved and then set a workshop to set the semantics of how it's set up. That's definitely a possibility. Thank you. I don't think it's about one event. I think it's an ongoing relationship building. I think that's crucial. And I don't know the chief mentioned that she's wanted to do this ever since she came. Well, we've been here long enough now that we could have had this done. So let's do it.
All right, next is Freddie
Mayor.
Staten.
Mayor,
Mr. Major.
Yes.
I asked the chief about whether she had contact with Sylvester, and she had told me exactly what she had stated, and I don't think she would have mentioned that to me if it wasn't true, you know, so that's just one other comment on this. Obviously, there's a lot more bigger picture here, but that's just the comment that I have, that that same information was relayed to me.
My name is Freddie Terrell Staten. I graduated out of this high school in 1978. I'm a retired Marine and I retired Department President as a lieutenant. Now I'm gonna give you a little bit of beef about these cops. A lot of them are coming out of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and they could not make it in my Marine Corps. So what they did was they get out on a, honorable discharge. Good, they went to war. I love them. But when they come here, man, they're a superhero. See, they give him a gun. He couldn't get promoted in the military. So what he do is they make him get out. So now he come here with a gun and authority, and guess what, bro? He's taking it to the hill. Because he couldn't make it that status. So guess what? He clean. He can pass a background, polygraph, he can bring it behind right in. How I know? I went to the Department of Corrections. I did not know I was that screwed up from the floor up. It took me 20 years to realize that I was messed up, man, from the floor up to the store. I have chronic PTSD. I am screwed up, and I get it, but them cats, they ain't got it yet. They ain't old enough. And they ain't talking to no counsel. They ain't talking to nobody. He letting a rogue dude get loose. Now, I'm gonna tell you this, my son is 23 years old in Orlando, Florida. He's gonna be a clinical psychologist because his dad understand, but he been stopped in Orlando, no stop sign. Pull him off for no reason. He screaming for his daddy. Now, Freddie T. Staten on me stopped me in this town, asked me, how come is this my car? I'm not mad at you, man. Look at him. Young man, I'll be on your side, dude. Believe you me, I'm that dude. Somebody bother you? I'm him. I got your back. I got you. But I'm gonna tell you something. These young children, man, you better leave these young children alone. You're messing them up, bro. They can't get no job because you're giving them a ticket for no reason. You messing with them. You're giving them a felony for nothing. Now, this cat got a little small bottle or freaking pipe of marijuana. You giving him contraband. You're screwing the man up. And it's hateful. You're hurting them for the rest of their life. Even with this college education, this kid cannot do nothing. My son is in love with a Puerto Rican girl. She gorgeous. Her name is Ashley. My daughter, she might marry a Puerto Rican or Asian or African or Jew. These children are different. They love what they love. They love what they love, man. Well, you gotta get over it. I just said something to somebody, my brother told me. I'm gonna get off this more, Mike, because I ain't with it. Mr. Jefferson, let me give it to you. I live on 780 Northeast FAMU Lane. Now I'm moving in Pop Brown house. Let me tell you something, man. You better do something to my neighborhood. Clean my neighborhood up. My neighborhood is filthy. On the other side of Muni J, in them ditches, cans and stuff, but I'm gonna do you one. I'm gonna get me some people out there. We're gonna clean this for you. But you need to tighten up, brother. You better tighten up, paint some roads. But Chief, I love you, baby. I'm sorry I said something earlier. My bad. I don't never say about a person in the cloth. But I'm gonna tell you something, when it comes down on these grounds, I done been to war twice. I done been stabbed at a Department of Correction. I done been hurt. Blood, both my jobs, I earned it. But I'm gonna tell y'all something, these young children, hey man, be nice to these young children, man, not distorting people. You're hurting them. Mine are good. I done lost one last year. I lost my baby. My 30-year-old baby gonna be a doctor. I lost her. So let me tell y'all something, man. You good, young man, but you're in a superhero, boy. Polish your boots, be green, be neat. Let me communicate with you. Let me talk with you. I can help your cops. I can help your boys on the force. Be SWAT certified, all that crap. I'm a hero. But tell me something, man. You know me. We like blood people. Me and you like blood, Stephen. Now, let me tell you something. We need to talk. Me and you spoke and never said that to you before. No hatred. Bro, we need to speak to one another, man. This has gone went too far. And this county just went too far. And I'm gonna sit down, but I'm gonna tell you something. You need me? Come see me. I drive a white Ford and I drive a brown Maxim. I'm here for you. Any day of the week you need me to help you, but that ride around don't do no good. We need a panel of civilians over here to get with the city council, to get with the chief, to get with the sheriff, or whoever, they sit down and that panel draws this thing up with the overview of that chief and you guys, so you have the same thing. Imagine where you don't have one person running the show. Everybody is what? Right here together. See, no one person is in charge. Everybody. You get these people, school teachers. Get Coach Brian Allen. He's one of the best men in Columbia County. Look how many going to college. He don't get no support, but his kids get pulled over because he playing for a black man sitting in the college. They get pulled over. And Brian got a call and say, hey man, why y'all pull my boy over? Turn him loose. But you can get on 90 and drive 100 miles an hour past to get puppies. They will fly 100 miles an hour. I'm getting out, Steve, but you go on Washington Street and drive 2 miles over, you're gonna pull me over. But you go right down there and look right now. That's the city. They wild behind open. Now I'm gone. Because my brain will start tripping. I'll say something stupid.
Thank you.
You know, hey, but check this out. Black history, brother told me the Punch Bowl of Mississippi. Read it up. First concentration camp in the United States of America. During the Revolutionary War, guess what? When they were fighting the South and the North, guess where they had the black people that was free slaves? They took them to Mississippi. They put them in a concentration camp and told them they let them go on their own feet. Eat on your own. First time a concentration camp ever came in the United States of America.
Okay, thank you. Next is Linda Andrews.
Linda Andrews, 366 Southwest St. John Street, Lake City, Florida. I read the Lake City Reporter, and in it they said that you are planning to dismiss a large amount of debt. And I don't think I'm in favor of that. But the more I thought about it, you know, what are your alternatives for this? And how did this happen? You know, this debt is something that is bigger than what it appears to be. The real problem is that code enforcement has no teeth. They go out, they cite a site that is out of compliance, they write the violation, the people are given an amount of time to correct it, they don't do it, they put a fine on them. This fine keeps building up and up and up, and nothing happens. There's got to be consequences for these people who do not take care of their property. As this gentleman was talking, there are some neighborhoods that are just a mess. Now, we need to do something more to support our code enforcement to get these things cleaned up. And we can go probably take them to court, and that's expensive. And whether you take the property and whether there's more liens against the property and back taxes and other owners, I mean, there's all kinds of complications when you take that. So I thought, well, maybe amnesty isn't that bad after all. But then not everybody is gonna qualify for this, apparently, from what the paper said. And there's still gonna be people out there with this big old debt. So we need to do something. And I don't know, I mean, I think you city councilmen really need more information about what these properties are, whether it's 23 or 24, I'm not sure from what the paper said. But look into that and see what's going on here. See why we can't get our code enforcement enforced. What's the sense of having it if you can't enforce it? So if these properties are habitable, if there are people in them, you've got a resource right away. Cut off their water and sewer and gas. Those properties are not habitable anymore. They've got to do something to be able to live in there. Most of these places apparently are derelict. They're past any kind of livability. There are things that can happen, like peer pressure. You could take and rent a sign, big billboard around 47 near 75, and in bold print these people's names, the site, the code enforcement that they are in violation of and how many years or months they've been that way. Put 3 of them up there every week. Expose these people to the rest of the community and show them who these derelicts are that are not supporting the beautification of Lake City and letting their properties go downhill. I keep my property up because I'm proud of it and because I want my neighbors to be proud of me too. So see what you can do to help City Council to help the code enforcement enforce the things that they are finding that are wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is, Mr. Holcomb.
Mayor Witt, members of the council, thank you for letting me speak. I interjected late because it looked like you were taking business that was not on the agenda, it was not anything the community was prepared to address tonight. If I may say, you were ambushed by a group of people that came in here with an agenda to try to get something done very quickly without giving the public a proper opportunity to review and see what you were proposing. I felt obliged to speak because I have worked with at least 75 police departments in my career, selling robotic technology like bomb sniffing robots and aerial surveillance kits to people that need to do drug interdiction, that need to work with agencies to do rescue operations and other things. And I've interacted with both the Lake City Police Department as well as the sheriff. And I really took offense tonight to some of the comments about unprofessional characters. There may be 1 or 2 bad people in any administration, but I'm not familiar with that in my dealings with the police department or the sheriff. I found them to be very professional. I've had to rely on both agencies at least twice. I've had serious things happen where I had, in fact, I met the most sheriff department employees when my dog escaped my property. There were 6 responding agents and they were in my yard and they were safely cordoning my dog into the yard to make sure that he came home safely. I've never seen anything unprofessional with my friends, whether they be white friends or people of color. I have several employees and I've had all of them stopped for various reasons. I guess the one message I want to send is, in my less than expert opinion, when these people go into action, it's because somebody has broken a law 95% of the time. They were speeding, or they were doing drugs, or they were playing their stereo too loud, or they were trespassing, or they were doing something that drew the attention of law enforcement upon them. And so when consequences occur after those lights go on and somebody tries to escape or they don't comply, I think it's really up to peer review committees to look at their performance and then bring to the council or to the state attorney's office the reprehensible behavior of those 1 or 2 people. I don't think that the lay people in city council have the expertise to evaluate the performance of licensed professional law enforcement officers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. B. Coker.
Hi, I'm Victoria Coker. I'll be speaking for my mom. My address is 636 Southeast Bear Drive.
I'm a young Black American, and I'm proud for that. To sit here and watch as, the people that I have watched be leaders as I grew up, be talked bad about, and be forced into decisions by people who are outside of their jurisdiction. And I'm not trying to put anyone under on a pedestal right now, but it's sad for me to have to sit over there with my brother and listen to this. To listen to someone, to listen to someone say that your child is different from another. As they're sitting here asking for equality, they're excluding someone like your child. That is not equal at all. And if that's what you want, then stop. It pains me to watch this happen because I'm 15 years old. And in all the years that I've lived in Lake City, I've never had a problem with the law enforcement. Even whenever our house was robbed and the police came, they didn't treat us any differently. They didn't ask us different questions. They didn't. They helped us. And how is that a problem? And as the man that was just up here said, maybe yes, you were speeding. Maybe you were doing something you weren't supposed to, and they stopped you. But do not at all try to include all the Black Americans that you see in this room into what is your problem. Because most of the people that have come up here and talked, they have had an issue with the law. And I'm sorry to say that, but they have. So yes, in the last meeting, when I went home and thought about what I believe her name is Vanessa, I'm sorry if I got it wrong. But when I went home and thought about what she said about why do they know my address? Why do you think they know your address? What have you possibly done?
Wait, she's speaking.
I'm not trying to call anyone out, but you specifically said here.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we have a child at the podium.
Hey,
Mr. Mayor, we have a child at the podium.
They probably know your address because of something that you have done in the past.
Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir.
You have to get control of the audience. We have a child at the podium.
Okay, would everybody please be quiet or we're going? Okay, this has just been all night long, just absolutely unruly.
Though I'm a child and young, in the years that I have been here, I have never seen a problem, ever. My mom has not kept me in the house. She's kept me in the environment.
Mr. Mayor, point of
In the
order.
community.
Yes.
We need to stop the comments from the audience. We have someone at the podium. We have a child at
Chief,
the
would you
podium.
address the audience and tell them that everybody will be removed if it doesn't stop? I'm asking everybody's been polite to y'all when y'all spoke. So I'm asking that everybody that speaks will be from there, or we're gonna ask them, and I don't do that. But it's just been the worst night that I've ever spent in 15 years tonight. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I have been out in the community my entire life. So no, my mother has not kept me inside the house. She's kept me out there. That's why I have experiences. That's why I know that the things that some of you all are saying are you're just trying to force your opinion on someone, as you just did with Mr. Jefferson. All of you, most of you sat here applauding, cheering, trying to have him make a motion. He didn't even get time to think. It wasn't even on the agenda. You want him to make an emotion when there's absolutely nothing you can do about it right now. Sure, it's on the table, but you can't do anything about it because there was nothing prepared. Only on your plate there was something prepared. All you did was just throw it at him. And yes, I see your poster. Am I next? But
Okay, address us. Don't address
I'm
the
sorry.
audience.
As the poster says, am I next? They're talking about specific people. They're trying to throw it on everyone. But I have never had that problem. I have many Black friends who have never had that problem ever in their life.
Okay, thank you. It's my understanding Mr. Bowden wanted to speak. That's on the phone. If you, yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is Glenn Bowden, 1156 Northeast Basco Norris Drive. I just want to add my opinion as a member of this community, a lifelong resident, and a former city councilman, and worked for member of Congress for 24 years, and attended a whole lot of meetings from Trayvon Martin to Tallahassee, March on Tallahassee, to March for Our Lives in DC. So I understand what the complaints are. Let me be clear. There's a difference between a citizen advisory committee and a citizen review committee. I do not agree with my friend, Councilman Sampson, anybody else. Advisory is one thing, a review is another thing. I don't know any downside. Now, if there's some downside from it, then somebody need to explain what the downside is. What is the downside with a citizen review committee? Working on the details can happen at a later date, how it's going to be structured. But I just don't see the difference. I don't understand the resistance to a citizen review board for a police department or for a sheriff department. Forget about sheriff because you have in control of that. But why is that an issue? What's the resistance? I understand the question about why we need it, but why we should have it. Tell me a reason why we can't have one. The people in our community don't trust law enforcement. Mr. Mayor and City Councilman, I was born and raised in Lake City. I'm a Vietnam vet. I participated in the war, came back to Lake City. Yes, I've been to jail. I've been back home, all of that. But I got a problem with trust. A citizen review board can eliminate some of that lack of trust. The question about, tell me what's wrong. Well, have a citizen review board and we can tell somebody what's wrong. Ride around with the police officer as a city councilman don't answer this issue. Let me tell you the problem is. I don't care if it's Councilman Hill, you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Green, every other city councilman. Being in that police car, riding around the neighborhood, what that mean? What that mean? I am telling you all right now. I said it today at downtown. I said it before. If a police officer stopped me, or put his lights on or her lights on, I am not going to stop. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to stop. There's a lack of trust. Why people don't understand that? There is a lack of trust. Give me a break. We got a problem in our community. There's an issue going on in our community. There is no reason. Forget about Vanessa. Forget about Sylvester. Forget about Glenda Bowden. Look at other people. There's an issue. And a advisory board, I hadn't had time to look up, go to Webster, but the definition is different, Mr. Mayor. Advisory is one thing, review is something else. I don't agree with advisory board. Let me be clear. And I'm taking exception to my good friend, Sylvester, and everybody else who agree is a step forward. We need a review board. We need somebody to sit down. If a police officer committed something like a shooting that's questionable, that a citizen can review it, can't change it. At least they can review it. There's a lack of trust. Yes, I would call a police officer at night if somebody banging on my door. I expect them to show up. But if I'm riding down the road and the police officer put their lights on behind me, I may or may not stop. It depends on where I am. That's what people need to know. There's a lack of trust. Unless somebody getting up saying to you all in public, I'm not talking about a private conversation. Come to a city council meeting, go to Zoom and say, oh, I trust law enforcement. I love what they're doing. They're doing a good job. Unless we hear from that, then we got a problem. So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for taking my, I ran now because I'm bitterly upset with what I saw as it relates to what happened with the sheriff department, but I don't understand resistance to a police review board. The only people who resist that are police officers. Keep that in mind. Citizens don't resist it. Officers resist it. Transparency is not just, oh, file a complaint. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. But why should not a citizen be able to sit down and review an incident that happened as a controversy in our community? I'm not talking about traffic stops. I'm not talking about, I'm talking major issues, police shooting, murders, unlawful interest. There's some issues that we can, there's a lot of community, Mr. Mayor and Council, where there's a citizen review board. I would think that somebody needs to say, okay, why did you have one? When did you establish it? If there's a benefit to it. I am absolutely personally, not as a JEC member, because I support the JEC member opinion, but personally, I think that advisory, it don't sound good to me. Review sound better. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for taking my call.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Jernigan.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Shalaya Jernigan. I'm just leaving work. I had to leave work because I was sitting and watching the video and hearing the statement that the chief made about when she's getting complaints and that she reach out to the people that write the complaints. No, ma'am, you have not reached out to me. I have a 19-year-old son, Jai Anthony Holly, got arrested October 13, 2020. He got arrested. He got a call that his friend's house was getting bust. He went to the scene, and because he walked by the police car, they arrested him for obstruction of justice. The next day, myself, Sylvester, and Jai Anthony Holly went to the police station, wrote statements. My son wrote a statement on how he is afraid because every time he's in his car and Officer Costco and Officer Johns follow him. They follow him and they tells him, oh, one day we're gonna get you. Ma'am, my son is a graduate of CHS class of 2019. No criminal record, very respectful, work every day. He works at North Florida, well, was working at North Florida Pediatric until your officers arrested him and then posted him on Facebook like he was the criminal, like he had guns, like he had possession of guns and marijuana, and he only had a charge of obstruction of justice. You arrested him, you scandalized his name, you ruined his character. He was an eye of the community at North Florida Pediatric. Do you know he went PRN right before that arrest, but that he got arrested, they have not called him one day to go to work. One day. The children loved him at that pediatric clinic, but because your officers feel because he hang out with his friends on a porch and they think that he has something in his car and because he got money in his pocket and they want to know where you get it from, it's none of their business. He go to work every day, 8 to 5. He's in school at Florida Gateway College. But that your officers arrested him and I asked for a video. You all sent email saying that there's no video available, but he got a court date. So I called the office, what is it called when you don't have a lawyer? The public defender. Call public defender, they tells me, well, we're waiting on the motion of discovery, which he was supposed to go to court last week on the 17th, but court was canceled. I talked to the public defender, actually Cliff Wilson. I talked to Cliff Wilson. We're waiting on the motion discovery come in, but we're gonna ask he's gonna plead not guilty. But then I get a letter in the mail where his public defender is saying that we're waiting on a plea. No, ma'am, ain't gonna be no plea because he didn't do anything. Where that camera at? Where's the video that show him going and trying to open the door to let his friend out the police car? But we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight because you're not gonna ruin him because he has a future. He'll be 20 February 18th. And you are not gonna ruin his life for obstruction of justice. Yeah, I paid the $100 for him to get out, but no, ma'am, you will not ruin him. I am the eye of the community. I do a lot for this community. I do a lot of positive things for this community and serve awareness for everything. My name speaks volumes, Shalea Jernigan. And you are not gonna ruin Jai Anthony Holly. You have not reached out to me. I haven't gotten a video of showing the body cam of where you see him. As a matter of fact, Johns and Costco was in the house, busting the house. You had the little black young lady as the one, and the heavyset young lady is the one that had him in the car. And she said to my son, I don't understand why they even arresting you. This don't make any sense. But that he's Jai Anthony Holly and he speaks his mind. Oh yeah, y'all want to get him. Y'all want to get him, but let you know, his mother gonna speak for him. I'm not gonna let you ruin my son's life and he have a record because he has a bright future. Bright future. And Lake City Police Department, like I put on my Facebook post, Lake City Police Department would not ruin my son, would not ruin his character because he have friends and he goes check on his friends because you're busting his house, but because he's in the vicinity, he didn't even go by the crime scene tape. You had to lift up your car. You had to lift up the tape to let him out when y'all was taking him to the police department. But he's obstruction of justice because he tried to open the police car.
Okay,
You think my son would do that? And y'all right here doing that to young males?
Ma'am. Go ahead.
Excuse me?
Go ahead.
I'm done. I had to leave work because I got upset because I've been waiting on a call and I have not got a call from anybody, from no one. So I'm done, but I wanted you to see my face and to hear from me because you haven't reached out to me and you made that statement that you reach out to everyone. And these are same officers, same two officers, Costco and Johns. The ones that said that, oh, we're gonna get you. Get him for what? He don't do any drugs. He don't deal in drugs. All he is a young black male that's trying to make it. That's it. Thank you.
If you want to, just keep things going.
Let me just simply say, when I said I reached out, I didn't say, if you took it that I said I'm talking about my office. And when I said I reached out, I was talking about to Sylvester Warren that I did call him. The office, the Internal Affairs, works under the office of the chief. And so when I do get complaints, I do often get either Chief Butler or my Internal Affairs to reach out to the people with their complaint. Every complaint that comes in, a written complaint, there is somebody that is going to call them on behalf of that complaint. This is really, I was waiting to say this. I am asking for this council to allow me to do the workshop. That's what I'm asking for the council to do because that's what you said that you would do in the last meeting. I do agree with the 15-year-old that was up here, and I see that she left already, is that it appears to me it was, you're gonna do it, you gotta do it, are you gonna do it? And it was not even on the agenda. You didn't allow me to do the workshop, and you have something placed to the vote. I don't think that is part of what that's supposed to happen in a council meeting. And so I'm asking again, if you would do what you said you were going to do at the last meeting, and that is you would do a ride along, and that you also allow the workshop to happen to be educated on, which is a legitimate question, a review, a citizen review, and a police advisory council. That's what I'm asking of this council to do, is to rescind actually that motion and allow it to go forward that you said that you would do in the last meeting. And that is the ride along. You said you will do the ride along and allow me to do the workshop. That's what I'm asking of the council. It was not on the agenda. And no, sir, I'm not pushing so much against the Citizen Review Board. I am asking for a police advisory council. And yes, there is a difference. And no, you cannot look at an investigation when it is still open. No one. That is the law.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, we do have a motion. Mr. Jefferson, you want to go forward with your motion?
Could that motion be amended such that the police workshop can be a part of that motion? Because I do feel that it is important that we have a workshop.
I'm not sure. Okay, why don't we start, and you tell me what you want to make a motion to, and then we'll go from there.
Mayor,
Yes.
if Mr. Jefferson wishes to amend his motion, the easiest way to do it would be to withdraw the previous motion and to make a new motion. While I have the microphone, I will advise the council that, as Mr. Sampson mentioned earlier this evening, you should do something, and actually you must do it. You must have a follow-up meeting to discuss the functions, the responsibilities, the composition, and other issues that go along with any committee. So this will not be the final action. You may take action tonight without advance notice on the agenda, because you know that it is not the final action you will have on this subject. You will need additional meetings in the future, whether those come as workshops or as formal meetings will be up to your pleasure.
Okay.
What's the motion?
We don't. I'm asking him now to state his motion.
Well, the original motion was to develop a advisory board. That was the original motion. And then I asked the question as could it be amended to include the workshop, because I do feel that the workshop is important.
Okay, so Mr. Coberline said if you'll withdraw your first motion and then I guess restate it that you would for the advisory committee with a workshop, is that correct?
If I understood it correctly, that is what he said. And I will withdraw the original motion and then include that I do feel that we should develop an advisory committee. Also, that we should include or we should conduct the workshop.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, clarification. So the motion was to create an advisory committee and also to conduct the workshop. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any other comments, council? I am for the workshop and I'm for dealing with this issue because it is apparently a strong issue in the community. But since we don't have what advisory committee or review committee or what it is, I cannot support it. And then somebody say you didn't support it or you voted for something, then you've changed your mind because I don't know what I'm voting on tonight. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
We get to comment here, now that I got the motion, before you vote? I'm not in favor of this. Everybody else commented in the whole room.
Very briefly.
I'll be real brief.
Because then we're gonna just start back around.
No, I'm not looking to start back around, now that we know what the motion is,
Right.
which we just discovered like 3 seconds ago. I'm not in favor of this motion, and I'm not in favor of an advisory review of an advisory committee, another committee that sings Kumbaya in Florida. Seems that's what every advisory committee does. We hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and nothing ever gets done. There's not another side to every story, as the chief said, and clearly on some of the stories, the sides get worse and worse. If anybody remembers George Floyd, or any black person that's got shot in the back lately, or the year before, or the year before, or the year before. Those are the ones that you hear about. You don't hear about white people getting shot in the back by the police, but you hear about black people getting shot in the back by the police, or shot in the street when they're laying down. So that's the other side of the story, Chief. There's not two sides to this story. There's one side to the story that these folks are talking about, and that's the black side.
Happens up north, it happens down south when you cross the Mason-Dixon line. I think Mr. Warren got a little excited when Mr. Jefferson agreed to the motion. What successful communities have with successful police forces is civilian complaint review boards. The chief doesn't want to know that because civilian complaint review boards are not a kumbaya moment. When I spoke to Jake Hill years ago, Jake remembers, at the community center, and he got rousted by the sheriff's office. And then it turned out that the sheriff's deputy realized that he was a city councilman and got all apologetic. Same Jake Hill, same Mr. Jake Hill that I know and respect. But all of a sudden, the officer had a little bit more respect once he found out that he was Councilman Jake Hill. It's not the same. There's not always another side when it comes to black folks. So I'm opposed to this motion. If you want to have a workshop to figure out what it is you're going to do, when Mr. Coberline can't cover up for what everybody screws up, that's fine. But you folks need a workshop to figure out what you're going to do. You heard everybody tonight. You heard Mr. Warren.
Okay.
You heard everybody else.
Yes, yes.
So that's what I'm in favor of. Civilian Complaint Review Board or a workshop, not a kumbaya moment, another Lake City kumbaya moment.
Okay.
And I use my 3 minutes.
All right.
Mr. Jefferson, do you intend for that advisory committee to act as a citizen review board? Are you saying that in your motion as well?
Should they, state again?
That the advisory committee that you are recommending and that you're making a motion to is to include the function as a citizen review board as well. Is that your intent?
My intent was for a advisory board.
To act in what capacity?
Okay, I knew this. I told you.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
just wanted to be clear that Mr. Jefferson's intent is to have that advisory board committee to act as a citizen review board, because there apparently seemed to be a little difference between the two. When Mr. Sampson was speaking, he was speaking more in the capacity of a citizen review board, where the citizens are involved in looking at whatever complaints or whatever is made. The chief isn't opposed to that, because the chief has had citizens come to her office and to look at certain investigations. I don't think she's opposed to that, but I just want to make certain that's what we're talking about. We don't need anything to just say grace over. We need somebody to look at, was this done fairly, candidly, and openly, and that the citizens are convinced that this was done in a right way. That's the whole point, so that everything does appear to be fair and open. I think that's what Mr. Jefferson is talking about, and that's what we're talking about up here. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay. Mr. Jefferson, you want to comment or you want to vote?
Well, my intent, as I foresaid, was the review board and the workshop. I think that the workshop is where we can get the answers into the directions and formulate what you're going to do. That's the importance of the workshop. And that's what my motion was addressing.
Mr. Mayor.
You call the roll.
Mr. Jefferson?
Wait a minute, here we go.
Mr. Jefferson?
Stand by, Ms. Sykes.
Yes.
Wait a minute, Mr. Green wants to make a comment.
I just had a question for clarification from Mr. Jefferson again. So the point of the workshop, just so I'm clear before we vote, the point of the workshop is to determine the roles and responsibilities and how a citizens review board or advisory board is going to address the concerns of the citizens that have showed up tonight, as well as Chief's initiative. Is that the point of the workshop?
That's the part of the workshop.
Okay.
That's what I had in mind.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Sykes.
Mr. Jefferson,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mayor Witt.
No. Okay. All right, we're to open a public hearing on ordinance number 2020-2167. Mr. Carolina, do you read that by title?
Mr. Mayor, I do want to, make a comment. I want to make a comment about the time. When the chief come up here, she has as much time as she can to explain. But when we come up as citizens, we got 3 minutes.
No,
If you
I
gonna-
gave everybody,
But you didn't put the timer on her, so if you're gonna give us 3 minutes, everybody that come up here need to get 3 minutes. And if we go over, let us go over, because you let her go over.
I think I've let
And I know
everybody
when
go
Ms.
over
Jernigan was
tonight.
speaking, you was cutting her off when
I
she
don't
was
think
kept
anybody's
talking.
been hardly cut off
So the
tonight.
3 minutes need to go for everybody.
right.
If not, let us roll.
All right. Okay, Mr. Carolina, would you read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, amending ordinance number 91-688 as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan pursuant to application CPA 20-06 by the City Council under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for amending policy I.1.2 of the future land use element by changing the floor area ratio from less than or equal to 1/2 to less than or equal to 1 whole within the industrial land use classification, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date, period.
Okay, anybody wish to speak on this ordinance? Okay, everybody want to speak, we'll close the public hearing, move to adoption of ordinance 2020-2167.
Mr. Mayor, there's a disturbance in the audience.
Okay. Is there a motion as to city council ordinance number 2020-2167?
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance 2020-2167.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, if you call the roll.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Witt.
Yes. Next, we're to open the public hearing on city council ordinance number 2021-2179. Mr. Carolina, do you read that by title?
Excuse me, Mayor, I think we missed
67.
number 2177.
Okay, I'm sorry. Would you read 2177?
An ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the code of the City of Lake City, Florida to provide for lien amnesty and forgiveness of fines and liens associated with code enforcement proceedings, period.
Okay, anybody wish to speak to this ordinance?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to speak to it. Ordinance 22-21-2177.
Go ahead.
I support this ordinance, Mayor, and I think this is a good ordinance. It will extend opportunity to get some of these properties cleaned up if citizens will take advantage of it. It's a good opportunity. Having said that, I'm going to abstain from voting for this ordinance because unbeknown to me, I was contacted on Friday by a member of the reporter who advised me that there was a property list that contains these properties, and one of these properties belonged to my wife. He further said that this property was purchased by my wife approximately just over a year ago. And unbeknown to her, this property, the previous owner apparently was cited by, there were some code violations on this property dating back to 2016, I believe it was. But anyway, we had no knowledge that there was a lien on the property or there was any issues with the property, and would not have known had we not been contacted. I have not seen the list, and that wasn't the purpose of our meeting in the ordinance in the first place. The ordinance was to put together a program where it would benefit these properties being cleaned. But in view of that, and public perceptions, I feel that I should abstain from voting on this because I don't want anyone to get the perception, mainly the public, that we are being given priority, or that we have something to gain from the program, which we absolutely do not. It's available for whoever qualify for it, and that will go through the routine steps, or we will go through routine steps as anyone else will. So at this time, I'm gonna abstain from voting on the subject for that reason. Conflict of interest, possible conflict of interest.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else that wants to speak from the audience.
There's someone there.
Yes. Do what now? Could you come to the podium if you want to speak so they can?
Mayor. Mayor.
Yes.
Will you please make sure he states his name when he comes to the podium?
Sure.
Mayor Witt, members of the council, I'm Sean Holmgren, 1342 Northeast Gum Swamp Road. I just wanted to know how much the liens were on the property that your wife owns.
That I don't know. I don't know how much the lien is on it, on that property, because I was not aware until Friday that there was a lien on the property.
I think that's relative.
If you want to say it, then I can repeat it. $158,000. Okay. All right, is there a motion to council? We'll close the public hearing and move into adoption of the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion of adoption of City Council Ordinance number 2021-2177.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion of council?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to add one of the questions that Mr. Holgram had. There's quite a few properties on that list where the people, I would say, don't know they have a lien because they purchased the property recently and the lien predates the purchase. There's one property that has a lien in the multi-hundreds of thousands that was purchased for $6,000. And I would bet it's not even worth that amount. So a lot of times you look at the list and the liens predate the purchasing, and for whatever reason, they don't turn up necessarily in a title review that you would expect, and we run into that quite often. That's all I had to say about that.
Sure. If you could just real briefly.
Sure.
I have invested in properties in Columbia County as well as other properties elsewhere in the state. I've always had to do a lien search. it's part of your due process. If you're gonna buy a piece of real estate, you own it. You take title, you own what you bought. I think if there's somebody that owes $500,000 and they're not on this council, and the council wants to forgive that, then that's great. But I believe that's a big conflict, especially when I've had to clear my own liens. And in fact, I had to pay $20,000 on a property I owned in Palm Beach County, and I knew it going into the purchase. I budgeted for it. So if you're gonna buy real estate, my advice to your wife and anyone on this council is, do your due diligence. No, sorry. I'm sorry for his misbehavior. That's the end of my comment.
Okay, any other comments of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to point out that the reason that lien amnesty is in front of us today for this action, believe it or not, is it was a citizen initiative from a town hall, I believe, in Mr. Hill's district. And so this is something that's a result of citizens' action because they want to make sure that they clean up the blight. And we offer opportunities for investors to come in and make sure that neighborhoods are maintained and taken care of. And so I completely support this initiative. I would like to ask Mr. Coberline if it is appropriate for Mr. Jefferson to recuse himself from the vote before we vote. I would like to hear a legal opinion as to whether or not Mr. Jefferson can be recused from the vote.
Mr. Green, whether or not Mr. Jefferson may be recused is up to his initiative. I believe after speaking to him this afternoon, would rather, in an abundance of caution, recuse himself. We did not have time to contact the Commission on Ethics and gather an informal opinion. I believe Mr. Jefferson may be fine voting because he is voting for a program. And anyone that wants to take or seek relief from this program, it is not an automatic. They must file an application and go in before a hearing from a special magistrate. Nonetheless, again, we did not have time to seek a informal opinion, even an oral over the phone. And so, Mr. Jefferson, if I'm not correct in my words, I ask that you correct me, that he is out of abundance of caution doing what's right on behalf of the city and of himself as a councilman.
That is correct. Those were my thoughts.
So, I fully support the ordinance. So that's all I had to say, Mr. Mayor.
And I think a misconception by,
And Mayor, if you will, as I foresaid, I totally support the ordinance. It's just that I'm abstaining from voting. I think the ordinance is good and that we need the ordinance. The program, the amnesty program.
if you read the ordinance, it basically, it does have, it leaves it up to our magistrate to administer it. And the things that they are to consider is, will somebody have knowledge of it? How old is it? What's the value of the property? There's a lot of factors in it, and it's not an all or nothing. They could make them pay a certain percentage of it. So it's not just an all or nothing wiping out 150,000. And the fact, if somebody knew they had it and they were the instigator of it and how many complaints they've had. So there's a lot of factors in it, and that's why I support it. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay. Next is City Council Ordinance number 2021-2179. Mr. Coberline, would you read that by title?
An ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending section 22-3 of chapter 22, article 1 of the Code of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing for the explicit adoption of appendices identified in the Florida Building Code, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an effective date period.
Okay, is anybody in the audience, this is a public hearing also on this one, that wishes to speak? Okay, if not, then we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of ordinance. Is there a motion as the city council ordinance 2021-2179?
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 2021-2179 on its final reading.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
I'm sorry, Mayor, who's seconding that?
Mr. Green?
Thank you. Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, next under new business, we have ordinance, city council ordinance 2020-2175 on first reading. Mr. Carolina, would you read that by title?
An ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, to provide for the waiving and suspension of water and sewer impact fees for a period of 12 months as an inducement for economic development, requiring any applicant seeking to take advantage of the development incentive to apply for and acquire a building permit and commence construction of the development prior to the expiration of the development period, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date period.
Is there a motion as city council ordinance number 2020-2175?
Mr. Mayor, I would move for the adoption of ordinance 2020-2175.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next is resolutions, it's city council resolution 2021-011. Mr. Carolina, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the Lake City Police Department to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Another Way Incorporated Domestic Violence and Rape Crisis Center to coordinate services to victims and survivors of domestic violence, period.
Is there a motion as city council 2021-011?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion for City Council Resolution number 2021-011.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next is city council resolution 2021-012. Mr. Carolina, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the Lake City Police Department to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Another Way Incorporated Domestic Violence and Rape Crisis Center to coordinate services to adult and adolescent victims and survivors of rape, period.
Is there a motion of the city council resolution 2021-012?
Mr. Mayor, I would move for the adoption of resolution 2021-012.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next is city council resolution 2021-016. Mr. Carolina, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, ratifying the mayor's extension of the state of emergency arising from the COVID-19 public health emergency, period.
Is there a motion of city council resolution 2021-016?
Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of resolution number 2021-016.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next is city council resolution 2021-017. Mr. Carolina, read that by title.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the donation of real property to the Board of County Commissioners of Columbia County, Florida, in accordance with the terms and conditions of an agreement to donate land for the paving projects associated with Cypress Lake Road and Charles Terrace, authorizing the mayor's execution of instruments conveying the real property and providing for an effective date, period.
Is there a motion of the city council resolution 2021-017?
Mayor,
Yes.
on page 71 of 121 of 128 of the agenda packet, paragraph 1 titled Land Donated, there is a semantical correction there will be a comma placed after the word donated and the word compensation. So it would read, the parties agree that the lands described on Exhibit A are being donated without monetary compensation to the county, period. The county proposed the agreement and then requested that revision.
Okay.
Should it be the city instead of the county?
You're giving it to the city, the county.
Any other comments?
Okay.
Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
We need a motion in a second, I'm sorry.
I thought we had one.
No, sir.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move for the adoption of resolution 2021-017.
Second.
With the change as described by
Either way works.
Mr. Coberline.
Okay, and Ms. Sampson, second, okay? Any comments? Ms. Oxley, you call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next, City Council Resolution number 2021-020. Mr. Carline, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of task assignment number 4 to the continuing contract with Jones, Edmonds and Associates Incorporated for professional consulting services related to the preparation of an emergency response plan and authorizing payment for the consulting services totaling $45,545.00, period.
Is there a motion of the City Council Resolution number 2021-020?
Mr. Mayor, I would move for the adoption of resolution 2021-020.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? This was recommended by the Utility Advisory Committee. Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Next, the City Council Resolution 2021-021. Everyone, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of task assignment number 5 to the continuing contract with Jones, Edmonds and Associates Incorporated for professional consulting services and the preparation of a water main routing study to provide recommendations to the city related to providing potable water utility service from the Price Creek Water Treatment Plant to the North Florida Mega Industrial Park, and at a cost not to exceed $38,900.00, period.
Is there a motion that City Council Resolution 2021-021?
Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of resolution number 2021-021.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I had a question for Jamie. Jamie, does this also include, if necessary, running raw water?
Mr. Mayor, Jamie Bell with Jones Edmonds. In answer to your question, yes, that is one of the considerations that we can look at with the water main routing study. The primary goal was to review different routes to get it from the Price Creek plant to the industrial park and to size those pipes. But if the city council would like us to also look at a separate raw water system and a separate raw water permit, we are happy to do so under this study.
What would be the difficulty in adding that to this study? It goes
Not
in the
a-
same hole, right?
It's if you were to use the existing wells to provide raw water to the industrial park, it would definitely change the nature of the project in that we would not be looking at a new pipeline from the plant to the park. We would actually be looking at a new pipeline from one of your wells to the park. And there are different permitting rules that we would have to review. There may be an additional meeting we would need to have with DEP or the Water Management District to discuss how that would impact both your water use permit and your water permit with DEP. So it may add another meeting or two, but everything's virtual these days, so it's only a couple extra hours. I think we can fit it in. It's not a problem.
further? Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Anybody else
Mr.
have any
Mayor.
questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Whit.
Yes. Okay, next we get into other items and discussion of possible action from the Utility Advisory Committee involving a motion by Mr. Sampson to develop a 5-year strategic plan. It's got Mr. Helfenberger. Did you want to say anything this time?
Basically, there were 3 motions made, and we're dealing with the first 2 of them under item 13 and the second under item 14. The first 2 would state that it would pretty much be declaring, it would be kind of like a proclamation that we're declaring that the city would be providing utilities for Lake City and all of Columbia County. And then the other would be that we would be working together with the county to develop a 5-year strategic plan for countywide utilities. And we're talking sewer and water and possibly gas.
Okay, Mr. Sampson, it was your motion. Did you want to?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion for the proclamation that the city would be the utility for the county. I think there's a copy of the wording in the file.
Mr. Sampson, your motion is to write the proclamation as presented.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question about these proclamations. Proclamations are generally to celebrate National Baking Day or Love Your Fellow Citizen Day, like Jeremy Bell does a good job, or National Athletes Foot Day. That's what proclamations are for. I don't know, this seems to be something new lately in Columbia County and the surrounding environment, that the Cobaline Law Firm is involved, that we have all these proclamations. And I looked this up the other day. Proclamation is for like a celebration. It's not, this is not a celebration. This is an elected body moves things through the process by motions, resolutions, votes, ordinances. A proclamation is just a proclamation. It doesn't mean anything. This council is taking a shortcut, and the other ones that are doing all these proclamations, that's not how a government body works, by proclamation. You're starting to get into a habit at this city council and Fort White and the Lakeshore Hospital Authority. There's one commonality there, that proclamations are not for this stuff. A proclamation is to celebrate something or to memorialize something. You know, like somebody died, we proclaim this Stu Ilker Day if I would have died at the podium, and I'm sure some people would like to do that. But clearly, it's not for this kind of thing. So I think if you're going to do this, that you need a resolution. You need a resolution of those 3 motions. If you're going to move on them, you know, you're going to resolve that this is going to be on the committee. I think that's part of one of them already. Or you're going to resolve that the city of Lake City will be the utility provider for the county, and it put some meat behind it. A proclamation is a big nothing. People forget that the next day. That's not the way the business of government is done. Thank you.
Okay.
Except for this.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that, I'll start by saying that I agree with the comments of Mr. Lilker. In my view, a proclamation stating that the city is dedicated to providing utilities for Lake City, Columbia County, is unnecessary. Lake City, through its utilities department and its city manager, has demonstrated through the years the city's commitment to providing utilities when asked, in a manner and where possible that we've been able to do. Such a proclamation discounts input from the Board of County Commissioners discounts input from the town of Fort White, or any other entity that would provide water, gas, or sewer services. The proclamation may make for a positive press. It may feel good, but as Mr. Lilker explained, it does nothing with regards to expanding, upgrading, or maintaining utility services. This body can proclaim anything that we want to proclaim, but that doesn't make it so. I would imagine if the county commissioners would probably have a different take. If we agree on a project, they're going to work with us. And if we disagree on a project, I suspect that they're going to work without us, and we will work without them. So although the proclamation may feel good to do, I think it's not necessary at this time. I think it is similar on the second item as well, under item 13. On item 13, the county commissioners nor the city management has sought to develop a 5-year strategic plan when it comes to utilities countywide. There's been no research as to what a 5-year strategic plan countywide for the city of Lake City would be. Who would pay for that strategic plan? Is the taxpayer paying, the Lake City taxpayer, are they paying for a 5-year strategic utility plan for the entire county? I think that's a bit much. So, Mr. Mayor, I would say that we need to put this aside tonight and allow the city manager to work in consultation with the county manager on utility matters that both parties have an interest in pursuing, the city and the county, and even Fort White for that matter, if there's an interest to work together. Let's remove the politics from the day-to-day decision-making and allow the city manager and his professional staff to do the work that they're paid to do. It is clear to me that our job on this council is to set the vision for the city manager and allow him to manage the process of implementing that vision. I think the council's been clear concerning water, sewer, and natural gas. The council's vision is to provide safe, reliable services that provide for growth of our utilities and an expansion of our customer base. I think it's that simple. So I agree, proclamations aren't needed. I don't think we need to take actions on those 2 paragraphs. I think that we need to allow the city manager to work with the county manager where it's mutually beneficial, or with the town of Fort White or any other entity, even a private entity. I think we need to let the city manager work through that. There's 5 of us, there's 5 county committees, that's 10 politicians. We all have an opinion, I promise you. We're gonna see it, I think, on item number 14. Even the makeup of the committees is a struggle when you have 10 people trying to do it. I think it's more efficient for the city manager and county manager to work together. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I agree, a proclamation is probably not correct. I think more we need to memorialize it as a resolution, because I think one of the things we overlook is we're pushing the county into the utility business. Now, one thing is we control via state statute 5 miles from our border city limits. And I think it's important that we make a commitment from this board that we're willing to be the utility provider for the county, that there's no need for a greater regional utility. And so I would say that motion, the way it was made and recommended from the utility committee, would be more memorialized as a resolution rather than as a proclamation. And I would like to make that motion.
Okay.
Mayor, make sure that we understand the definition, because we're throwing legal terms around. A resolution is defined by the Florida legislature as, among other things, an expression of temporary character or a provision for the disposition of a particular item of the administrative business of this body. In order to dispose of something, you need to have details so that you're at the end of it. You do not have the specifics of a 5-year plan. I presume it would be developed. You do not have the specifics of how the city will be making utilities available to the remainder of the county. I presume those would be developed. When you go over to the definition, of a proclamation which I'm pulling up again here, if you'll give me a moment.
While you're doing that, I see this resolution as a bridge to an ordinance. Because I believe, as I spoke to Mr. Helfenberger, we need an ordinance in place due to Florida Statute 182. Is that correct, Mr. Helfenberger?
I need to research a little bit more. I think, you know, if you can memorialize something and you want it long-term, an ordinance helps. But I do need to do more research on both these issues to be able to give you the detail necessary to go forward. And we have begun doing the research on these. It's just that we're not at a point where we have solid information to bring to you.
Mayor, going back to the definition as Black's Law would provide it to you all, the act of publicly proclaiming or publishing a formal declaration, a public announcement giving notice of a governmental act that has been done or is to be done. I suggest to you that proclamation is the preferred mechanism here because, again, you do not have these specifics to dispose of anything among these two concepts. Additionally, Mr. Sampson, you have an ordinance in place that takes you 5 miles. You do need to redefine the epicenter, but that's on the books and has been on the books for a few years.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So in my reading, I don't think it's necessary. I think that, number one, the city does, provide the services. Currently, the county does not, nor does any other entity. The city provides water, sewer, natural gas. It's that simple. And we have a long history of doing that. We've demonstrated through years of working with the county that we're committed to doing that. I think there's no question that the city will continue to work with the county where it is mutually beneficial. I think that the county will continue to reach out to the city where they feel that it is mutually beneficial. And so I don't know that any action has to be taken by this council. I think that the real action is between the city and county manager. The county manager would reach out to the city manager and say, hey, there's a project we want to work on, or vice versa even, or with the town of Fort White. And then as they work through the day-to-day details of that, then they would bring that to the council when it comes time to spend money or set priorities. So I don't know that we have to take action on either one of these issues tonight because the county commission hasn't asked us to. They have, you know, they have an opinion as well, I would suspect.
I can see your point of view on that. However, they haven't asked us to, but they're barreling forward on starting a utility within our protected 5-mile area. Currently, they have filed for a water use permit. So are we willing to go forward and provide those utilities, or are we going to abdicate the area, allow them to encircle us so that our revenues don't grow for enough to even allow us to maintain basic deferred maintenance on the current system? We have to have an advantage. We have to have the ability to grow revenues. Otherwise, we'll not be able to maintain the system as it currently sits. And I don't want to see the water rates go to a point where I can't afford to pay them.
So absolutely, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I agree with Mr. Sampson's concern 100%. And I think Mr. Sampson was at the meeting. I spoke to the county commission as a citizen, not representing this board or the utility advisory board, with my concerns and support, which has changed for them. But at any rate, Mr. Sampson is correct, I think, to be concerned. But the feedback that I got from our county commissioners during that feedback and others is number one, they support the development of a regional utility authority, and I don't support that. And this council shouldn't support that because it's, Quite frankly, a third of our budget is utilities. And I spoke at the county commission meeting for 5 minutes, and I answered questions for over an hour on one item, Mr. Mayor. That one item was my opposition to the development of a regional utility authority that would supersede the city council and county commission. It's only item. Nobody asked me about the quality of service, the quality of water, what's going to happen to our employees that have time in with the city and have been doing this. I think that a regional utility authority, quite frankly, is going to result in an increased fees because you're creating a whole nother quasi-governmental body, not an advisory body. And so I think the fees are going to go up, Mr. Sampson. I think you are correct in being concerned about that if the city's not the utility provider. I agree 100%. I think also to make up for lost revenue, if the city doesn't provide utilities, I think there's a risk of increased property taxes. So there's a whole plethora of reasons I think it's a bad idea for the city to support the development of a regional utility authority. However, we have county commissioners who have said that's their 5-year goal. They want to do it. They came to our meeting and said that that's what they wanted to do. We had county commissioners that said, hey, where we can work together, let's work together. And where we can't, we're going to go it alone. I take them at their word when they say that, they're willing to go it alone. I think that they have to comply with the law, Mr. Sampson, and I think that we have to as well. And so these two paragraphs that we're discussing right now, I don't think further the cause. I think the best way for mutual cooperation on projects where we can agree and to cut out the politicians is for the city manager and county manager to work one-on-one, identify those projects, and bring them to us for our support. That's my view.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think that's a system we've been using, and it's not working. We've got undermining in the organizations on both sides, from my opinion. We've got people on the county side that would just as soon undermine the process so that they can take over and do what they need to do. And I'm not for that. A regional utility is already in place. It's called the Lake City Regional Utility. I believe it's right in our ordinances. That is our utility. So what we need to do is take our utility and grow it. And if we do it in such a way coming along beside the county, we can utilize their larger resources to grow our utility to increase the revenue needed. And I think that's the view that I was taking when I made these motions. But we have to have them on as a partner, because without them being a partner, where the growth is going to take place isn't in our current city limits, but it's definitely within those 5-mile radius. And to me, that's crucial that we protect that and we look into it as that's our area, because that's future annexation, that's future tax base. And that's why I think it's so important that we make a statement publicly that we're willing to provide utilities to that area, because what they're going on when they go and apply for their water use permit is they're stating that we're not willing to provide those utilities. And I hear that from time to time from this board. It sounds like we're equivocating. And I've been in meetings for Economic Development Council on the county side where we sat there and we made a statement that sounded like we didn't want to provide utilities. And we got to be careful about that. And I think that's why we need to memorialize that we're willing to provide the utilities, so that going forward, it'll help foster that working relationship. Because they're putting the word out that we're saying we're not going to do it. And that's how they're advancing their application. And I would like to say we are going to do it, and we are willing to do it, and that'll help us to work together to protect that area. Does that make sense?
It does, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Mr. Sampson's appraisal of the situation, but I think the thing, Mr. Sampson, that maybe you are discounting is some of those county commissioners, as they expressed in their meeting the other night, have openly stated that their goals are separate and apart from what you just said. The city of Lake City is the regional utility authority. Currently, that is correct. That should be the case moving forward. But we're not the only ones that have a say in that. And there are county commissioners who have a different opinion and have expressed it openly in our meetings as well as their own. And so we can't pretend that they don't have that agenda to create the regional utility authority. If I've answered questions about that for an hour at their meeting, or if they've come to our meeting and said that, or that not, you know, I don't want to get into who said what, but, or that a county commissioner says, hey, I used to think that the city of Lake City was the sole provider of utilities, but now I think that that shouldn't be the case. I mean, they say that in the open meetings.
And that goes back to allowing the managers to be the sole basis of that relationship, no matter which side. Because if you go to that and say that's the system, there's two agendas. And then when they come out of that meeting, they're gonna tell their board, oh, well, the city doesn't wanna do it, so we can move forward within their 5-mile limit. And then we don't have that function. Now that goes to the third thing we're gonna talk about. We're gonna get them on that board to help with the decisions. But we've got to be careful with saying we're putting something like that in the back, in the dark, not transparent. I think these discussions need to take place on the elected level so that we're transparent in what we're willing to do, and so that we can provide that vision down to the manager and then through him to his employees. I think it's key that it's a transparent talk, not something between two managers in an office that the people don't have access to. But that's my opinion. So I don't know, moving forward, I would say the motion, just like it was before, I would like to see that the city is the utility for the county. And that's what my statement in motion would be.
For a resolution or a proclamation.
I would like to see this resolution, but I believe our attorney disagrees with that.
If you want something temporary and less formal, we'll bring it back as a resolution. If you'd like a formal announcement, we'll keep it as a proclamation. The definition of proclamation's been around since the 14th century, according to Black's Law Dictionary.
And that's a more permanent, you're saying that's the more permanent?
Well, they're both going to be a public record. They are permanent to an extent. We have a public announcement in a proclamation that is a permanent pronouncement. We do not have any terms that make a 5-year plan dispositive. It's kind of going back to what we did a couple hours ago about an advisory versus review committee. We don't have any terms to dispose of it tonight.
Well, and I think too, with that strategic plan, maybe once we start meeting, the term's not 5 years, it might be 20.
That's correct.
So I'm thinking we definitely need to move forward toward that strategic plan. And whether the county comes in or not, we need a strategic plan to know where our utility's going, because a master plan, whatever you want to call it, we've been talking about here for a while, we need it in place so we can grow the right way. And I think that's crucial. And I'm fine with it being a proclamation. We have a proclamation written. I can make a motion to accept this proclamation. I've read through it, and I could leave that as the motion. We can see where it goes from there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
so I would be happy to support Mr. Sampson's proclamation, but here's the problem. It's not binding. It's not binding on the county, the proclamation. We can proclaim anything. And I would support the proclamation because I do think that the city is the regional utility provider. But I'm telling you that another body, i.e. the town of Fort White or the Board of County Commissioners, or even a private industry, right, that wants to have their own water use permit for their own uses, they're not, that proclamation is not binding. They're not held to account for that standard. So although we will, just like Mr. Coberline said, we may feel good to pass that proclamation. It may feel good for us to pass a citizens police review board, but we don't know what that means. It's not a binding thing until we have exactly what will stick, what is the law, what is binding. And the county commissioners or any other agency that applies for a water use permit is going to have to comply with the laws and regulations of the state of Florida. And so if the law is that they can't be inside of the 5-mile radius, then they're going to have to comply with that. And, so that's what the laws are on the books. So I support Mr. Sampson's proclamation. I support everything about it, but I want to point out to this council that it's not binding on the county commissioners, and it's not binding on the town of Fort White. As a matter of fact, they've completely left the town of Fort White out of the discussion, even though it's in the county, and even though they have utilities. So I think that Mr. Sampson wants to make that motion, and we'll see if he gets a second. I think it's fine if you do, if he does, and I think we can support that, but it's not binding, is my point.
I see this as a beginning point, not an end point.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Actually, what we're trying to say, we're gonna be in the utility business, correct?
Correct.
So would the proclamation say that we're gonna be in the utility business for the city
And the county.
and the county?
Yep.
Oh, I'll second
But
that.
if I understand what he's saying, the proclamation is not binding, though.
It's just a statement.
It's just a statement.
Right.
And, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So second to that, if we make this proclamation, right? And we say the city is the utility provider, and let's take that at face value. What happens when the county says, hey, we do want utilities at this spot, and the city financially cannot put those utilities into that spot? It's beyond our means, right?
Right.
So there has to be a partnership with the county.
That's
Has to
right.
be.
Yeah.
And so they have to be on board. So I don't know that all of the county commissioners are on board with the idea that the city would be the sole utility provider. I don't think, actually, I'm certain that they're not. They've said as much in public meetings, some of them. I don't want to speak for all, I won't speak for any of them. They can speak for themselves. But they have said as much in our utility advisory meetings. They've said as much in their county commission meetings. So anyway, I think you do have a motion. I think you do have a second.
Yeah. And comments of council. I totally agree with Mr. Sampson. I think we do need to move forward. We need to get a plan. We need to provide services, expand our base. I think that's very important to grow. But there again, what Mr. Green just said, if it's not feasible and we say we got to do it, or I guess I support the theory and the proclamation, but it's like the first issue, there's not enough facts and things of what we're voting on. So
I agree with that, Mr. Mayor, but one point I can tell you right now is there's a water use permit filed right now. Did we know about that? It's within our 5-mile limit. Is that not right, Mr. Helferberger?
Yes.
So it's been told to Swanee River Water Management that we said no. I never said no. I don't know about the people on this board saying no. And whatever the county does, the county does. We can't control them. Now, we can call our county reps because I have a commissioner just like each of y'all have a commissioner. Some of us have the same commissioner. All I'm stating is we want to be the utility. And I would expect for them to pay their share. I think now, when you talk to them, they say they're willing to pay their share. That's what we're gonna put them to the test on.
Well, I agree with Mr. Sampson and Mr. Green.
Okay.
I think that we do need to make a statement that we're gonna be the Greater Lake City Utilities. That's all.
okay, anything else? Just real quick from right there, just.
Does seem to be thank you, Your Honor. It does seem to be final. I seem to recall, never mind the word, the proclamation goes back to the 13th century, that the rules of operation of the city council is you guys operate by Robert's rules. And I know before the meeting, actually on last Thursday, I was gonna get back to it, but didn't, but I did look up the word proclamation in Robert's rules, and there is no proclamations in Robert's rules. Maybe in the 13th century, but Lake City wasn't around in the 13th century. So if you guys operate by Robert's rules and there's no allowance for you guys making proclamations, it's nice that this happened in the 13th century and you do make proclamations, and they did say something about making proclamations for celebrations, but I don't know that you have the authority to make a proclamation according to your own rules of procedure. And I would respectfully request that you check that before you go into making another proclamation on city business, which may not be something that you can proclaim according to your own rules. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anything else to council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, so we got passed. Okay,
On that second matter with the strategic plan, I do think we need a discussion with the length of time. And I think that should be sent back to the reconstituted, if we reconstitute the utility committee. Just, that way we can have the county at the table and say, this is the length of time we want to look at, because I think 5 years may be too short.
and who can pay for it and all
Ms. Mayor, I think that would be the point of a workshop.
Yep.
That have the details.
that. All right, number 14. As to number 14, what I'm hearing tonight is the county, you know, kind of voted to do this, but then if they're going in a different direction, I'm not sure we all are on the same page as far as what we're doing. That would be kind of-
Mr. Mayor, could we have, I think Mr. Helfenberger was supposed to speak to this item before we open discussion.
All right, Mr. Helfenberger.
Okay, when we had our meeting, it was looking like the county was going to have propose two county commissioners, the county manager and the county economic development director. And at the meeting, technically the county commission authorized the two elected county commissioners to be on the utility advisory committee. So the question is, I think they had the other two included. Do you want just the elected officials to be on there and then just require the staffs to be attend? Or do you want more than the elected officials at the meeting?
Part of the motion was to give an even voice to each side. In my opinion, it's just as powerful if it's just the elected officials that vote, but yet we require the other people, because not only are there going to be county people required, we're going to require people from our end as well. Because we need the people that have the knowledge in the room to advise us when making those decisions. So if that's the county's intention, I mean, I'm all for just 2 city council and 2 county commissioners.
Well, I make the motion that Councilman Green and Councilman Sampson represent this board.
On his motion?
Yes.
I guess we need to deal with his motion first and then deal with your motion.
Okay.
But I agree with you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm a little bit taken back by the motions for 1 second. So first, we're discussing Mr. Sampson's initial motion at the Utility Advisory Committee as it stands, correct?
Right.
So when it comes to reconstituting the city's Utility Advisory Committee, as chairman of the Utility Advisory Committee, I just want to say that I oppose the recommendation that's published in the agenda. Okay, so just oppose that makeup of the committee. I do recognize that the county has appointed the 2 county commissioners. And so I would support having the county commissioners come on with us. I think one of the confusions that Mr. Helfenberger has had is I think that we've all given different direction. And so I would also support the 2 city council members would make up that committee with the city manager, director of utilities, and yourself as ex officio. I agree with Mr. Sampson 100%. All the other utility directors, besides, specifically, except for the director of all the utilities, they all are the subject matter experts. And so we may need their counsel and their expert input. They don't have to be voting members. And so, as I said, the 2 city council members, I do think that we don't need the city manager. He's going to follow the direction. So, I'm open to working through that. We need, I guess what I'm saying is we need to limit the scope of the board. And so let's, 2 city council members, 2 county commissioners, director of utilities, yourself as ex officio. That would be a proposal. I know that the city manager needs clear direction on who's going to make up this board. And so I want to make sure that we give him that tonight.
So that was, you're proposing 2 city council members, the 2 county commissioners, the mayor's ex officio, and the utility director?
I am, and I'm open, Mr. Sampson, if you have a different suggestion, I'm open to working through that.
As ex officio, is that a full voting role?
So he has voted on the first 2, and I think what we received from Mr. Coberline, his guidance is that the mayor is able to vote in that capacity.
Perhaps adding an engineer would be good, maybe to the county. I know they might would offer their engineer to be on that committee. It would be helpful to have an engineer there. We can make them a required attendee. They don't necessarily have to vote.
Right.
But I think the voting members need to be kind of limited.
So I would agree. So do we just want, Mr. Sampson, is your thoughts, and for the other council members as well, Mr. Jefferson, I don't intend to leave you out of the conversation at all. The whole reason we're having this discussion tonight is because I want to make sure that you and Mr. Hill have input. And we didn't do this just at the advisory committee. Yes, so I agree. We could do that with just the elected officials, and we could have all the other members be non-voting members, but be there to provide the technical guidance that we would need. I would be open to that.
So you're saying then that the 2 voting members would be, the voting members would be the 2 councilmen and the 2 commissioners?
Yes, sir. And I think that the mayor in the ex officio status, and Mr. Coberline can correct me if I'm wrong, would be a voting member. He has voted on the 2 previous. So it is a city board, so I want to be clear about that as well. If that weighs.
Well, I think in conjunction with this too, we're going to need some ordinance changes on some items that may not need to go to that committee in the actual ordinance of the makeup of the committee. There's some things that are just housekeeping that probably won't need to go there at that point. I think this is to engage and move forward on the bigger picture.
And it is advisory in capacity, Mr. Mayor. So the ideal is the county commissioners would still be able to vote yes or no. If any action is taken by their board, we would still be able to vote yes or no by our full board. The point of the advisory, and some of the county commissioners at the meeting had expressed concern about the advisory nature. But the point is that Mr. Hill's constituents and Mr. Jefferson's constituents are not left out. And any county commissioners who are not on that committee, their constituents wouldn't be left out of the discussion.
Well, we can't obligate the city unless to file the budget.
That's right.
I agree.
So no matter what makeup we have an advisory committee, whether it's whatever, it's advisory.
And it has to, and we talk about making sure, I think, Mr. Mayor, that we have clear guidance. We did it with the, whether or not it was the proclamation that the city is the utility provider. I think also clear guidance is that the committee is an advisory committee and it does not usurp the authority of the full city council, or if it's county commissioners, the full board of county commissioners. And that's why I strongly oppose the formation of a regional utility authority that is not the city of Lake City. So let's clean this up for
So
Mr.
can I make the
Helfenberger.
motion, amended to be, the board will consist of the 2 city council members, the 2 county commissioners, and the mayor's ex officio. And that would remove all the previous members that were there otherwise.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any further discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor,
Yes,
so we're only going to have a 5-member committee? That is correct?
that's correct.
Okay. So we're not going to have any non-voting members on the committee? Is that correct?
Go ahead.
There will be people required to attend. That'll be communicated through Mr. Helfenberger.
Okay. But they're not going to be considered members of the committee?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay. Does that take care of all that?
Yep.
I understand if we're done with our business, if the chief wants to speak to us again.
As far as the order of our city council meetings, and I've, of course, been in these meetings all the time. Help me to understand when there is not an item on the agenda. I've heard the council sometimes not hear it, and then I've heard them sometimes they do hear it. What is the order? I need a point of order, point of clarity for me in terms of when we have items brought before the council, especially if they're not exigent, they're not life and death situations, that they have to be voted on or talked about then. I can see there was a lengthy discussion with utility, and of course, we had something to come on early on about in my department. So I'm just trying to get in terms of the order. What's supposed to happen when it's not on the agenda and the item is voted on? I'm confused. I'm confused because it's like, can I get it all out? Because I want to go home and not have this over my head trying to understand. Because I've seen it happen not only tonight, but I've seen it happen other times. So when something comes before the council and is not on the agenda, and somebody makes a motion then, Mayor, but if it deserves a lot of discussion, does it supposed to go head on and be voted on? But if there's so many questions about it, when do you hold off and wait and discuss it? I'm confused about the order. Can you give me some clarity on, should there be a rule set for the council? A rule set for the agenda? Can you help me to understand? Somebody can help me to understand that?
Yeah, because I know we have done it back and forth.
Yes, I've seen it when I've heard someone say it's not on the agenda, so we're not going to talk about it.
Right.
And 2 items later, it was not on the agenda, and you discussed it and you voted on it. Can you help me, Fred, to get some, I'm just trying to understand.
The rule, I think, is most easily understood in that no final action may be taken when it's not on the agenda. For example, tonight on an advisory or review committee, no final action was taken. The committee was not formed, meaning composition wasn't formed, functions were not established, responsibilities were not established. So the board had the discretion and luxury to discuss it all it wanted. The board voted to consider it further. I never heard a comment about composition or detailed responsibilities or functions. So therefore, the discussion was perfectly legitimate this evening. When there's final action, then it needs to be advertised to the public so that everybody may make a decision whether or not they want to attend, not attend, and or contact their representative in advance.
Okay, so, I'm so sorry. So what was voted on tonight was what now? Help me to understand.
So look into it.
We're gonna look into it. Is that what we voted on? We're gonna look into it and a decision will be made after a workshop is conducted to provide information.
Correct.
Is that,
The function of the vote was that there will be an additional meeting. I suggest that there'll be at least one more meeting based on the necessities that make up any type of advisory or review board that has to do with law enforcement. As you and I have discussed, Chapter 112 will play heavily into what the functions and responsibilities may or can or cannot be of any type of board that has any type of oversight or input into the law enforcement.
thank you, Ms. Booth. That's what I want to educate the council on, that 112 and all those other kind of things govern discussion of any kind of investigation. So I heard citizens walking out saying, okay, we got a citizen review board. Is that correct or not?
Would you like me to read you back the motion?
Yes, please.
The motion that was authorized was a motion to develop motion to develop an advisory committee and conduct a workshop. That was the motion.
Okay. To look into it, pretty much.
Right.
You're right. Am I understanding?
That's what I understood. And I voted against it because it was, just like we talked about, there wasn't any, as Fred said, what's the makeup of it, what's its responsibility, what can it do? Okay, I think we've finished our business. If any other?
Mr. Mayor, before you move on from the previous item that was being discussed, and maybe I'm incorrect, but I was under the impression there was a second motion made by Mr. Hill that was actually not addressed.
Oh, that's correct.
When he
Thank you.
nominated two folks to the committee. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
made
Mr.
the
Hill made
motion
a
to-
motion that our two representatives on the committee,
Todd and Mr. Green.
okay, so that, thank you. Is there a second?
He thought he changed it.
Mayor,
I
are
thought he-
those already appointed?
I thought he agreed to change it.
Well,
You guys
we
changed
the
yours.
committee, so I guess we need to reappoint them,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Mayor,
Yes. Yes, sir.
I believe the procedure in 2-48 is that the mayor will recommend to the council. So I'm sure you will adopt Mr.
I do, I
Hill's
got
suggestion.
Mr. Hill's motion, this is my recommendation.
We have a motion. I do not have a second. Or do we need a motion, Fred? Or we're just gonna recommend
The
it?
council needs to approve the mayor's recommendation.
Okay.
Which happens to be identical to Mr. Hill's comment.
And we ain't leaving till somebody seconds.
So, Mr. Jefferson, I think it probably is not appropriate for me or Mr. Sampson to second that motion.
Would you second it?
Second, I second.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
discussion, Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson,
Yeah.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Witt.
Yes. Okay, any other comments?
I got something on this one. I'm asking this council tonight to think about, I had Audrey earlier today I did somewhat a public request on the last time this council received a raise. And the last time this council received a raise was 2008. Here it is, 2021. Asking the council to think about giving this council a raise. I think that it's no more than fair to give ourselves a raise. So I'm asking tonight for everybody to just think about it.
All right,
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of comments I'd like to make.
sure.
Most of the audience is left. I have a couple of concerns. I think that the chief brought up a good point about making motions and, is it orderly to do it? Is it not? I would just like to share with my colleagues on the council it is to our advantage when we have things that we want to have done to work through the city manager's office so that the background and the research can be done. I think I think tonight, the confusion between the citizens and the police department, us, utilities, I think we've had several things tonight where we've kind of worked our way through it, but I think if we allow the city manager the opportunity on the front end and we don't bring forth motions that are not prepared, we certainly can. Every individual has something that they're passionate about, but I would just ask my colleagues to work through the city manager. I think we could alleviate some of the confusion if we did that. There's so many things I'd like to say. One of the things, Mr. Mayor, that I'd also like to say, and I'm glad that the chief is still here, our last several meetings, I feel like the employees of the city of Lake City have come under attack. Tonight it was the police department. I think the utilities have been under attack. I know Public Works has been criticized, and I can only imagine that constantly from this council, the criticism has to have a negative impact on the morale of the city of Lake City and our employees. And I think it's important for us to let them know that we support them. Those guys that worked on McFarland Avenue, last council meeting we had, I don't know if you know, Mr. Mayor, we had utilities guys in a hole chest deep on McFarland Avenue. While we were in here, conducting city business, and they were receiving criticism. And, it's important for those folks in that hole to know that we support them. It's important for our police officers who are serving tonight and protecting our citizens to know that, yes, we support them. There does have to be accountability. I think the chief is responsible for that 100%. But also, she's a professional. It's a professional organization. And so those officers deserve to know that we support them. Our utilities folks deserve to know that. Our Public Works, our customer service, our finance, they all need to know that. And I think sometimes that gets lost with the criticism because sometimes it seems personal and it doesn't seem necessarily to be constructive. And so I would just caution my fellow city council members, is all we can do is to make sure that anything that we say regarding the employees is constructive, and anything that is a criticism is handled through the city manager. It is his role to make sure that he, controls the administration of the city. And I feel like lately the city council's kind of, I don't want to say overstep, but we've kind of gone in a direction where we're having the city manager, we're eliminating some tasks that he should be doing. And so I want our employees to know that we support them. I don't care what department they're working with. Every one of them come to work. They deserve to know that there is a level of job security in Lake City. Not if you're not doing your job, not if you've committed a crime, but there's job security in knowing that you're not going to come to work. I had an employee, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not going to say any names. I had an employee a while back. I said, why are you here at these meetings? He said, I'm begging for my job. That was his comment to me. I'm begging for my job. Mr. Mayor, that's a shame. That's a shame on his council. No employee for the city of Lake City should feel like they have to come to these meetings to beg for their job. That's a stain on us. The city manager is responsible to hold our employees accountable to the standards and policies. I expect that he'll do that, or he'll be held accountable, quite frankly, by this council. So I just want to, I've gone on too long. I want to let the employees know, I hope that the word gets back to them that this council does support them, and that the criticism that they hear is not personal criticism to the work that they're doing every day.
Totally agree with everything you said, and we do need to let them know that. And the citizens have a right to be heard, but it's been way beyond what's civil and right, and tonight was the worst.
Mr. Mayor, we have to do a better job of maintaining order. I cannot believe that tonight we had a child at the podium, 15 years old, be heckled from the audience. Even if the audience is correct in their assumption, to have a child heckled is unacceptable, and this body should not stand for it.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief. I agree 100% with Councilman Green with his comments, so I'm not going to be repetitive in what he said. But one of my concerns is we adopt an agenda, and that is the order of business or the topics of discussion for the council. And we, as council members, I think we need to strictly adhere to that.
Right.
Follow our agenda. I now get the feeling that the public feels that they can come up and bypass the city manager or any other department and bring their issues here, their gripes, here
Right.
to the council, and they expect us to give that attention. But those things can be addressed, but there's an order for that. If we accept the agenda, that is our agenda that we adopted and that this council accepted, and we should work from that agenda. And if those things that the public can say whatever they want to say during public discussions, but we don't have to take action on that at that time. They're addressing the council. And I don't want us to lose track of that. We need to adhere to our agenda and maintain order in here, because, this is one of the worst that I've seen since I've been on council. And that's all I gotta say.
Anybody else? Thank y'all for coming.
Right, I think I've got